in town. Joe is back at Everything Concealed Carry with 900 to 1,000 new and used guns on his way at any given time. You can see, touch, and compare until you find exactly what you want. No grouchy old man here, just a welcoming team ready to help. And remember, we also buy guns for cash right on the spot. Come visit us today at 10306 Taylorsville Road in the heart of J-Town. Call 502-657-8488 or check us out online at eccguns.com. Everything Concealed Carry. Joe is back, and so are the deals.
Real name, no gimmicks.
Who are you?
He had a voice that could make a wolverine purr.
That's what I'm talking about, man.
Wait a minute. I know you.
Check out the name tag. You're in my world now, Grandma.
I know that, dude.
He's a modern day Yoda. I'm your huckleberry.
Allow myself to introduce myself.
Greetings and salutations.
We came, we saw, we kicked its ass. You're excited. Feel these nipples.
That boy's good. Mm-hmm. Good and terrible.
Well, I have a microphone, and you don't.
So you will listen to every damn word I have to say.
This is the Mike Rutherford Show on the Big X.
Portos, motorheads, geek bloods, wastoids, dweebies, they all adore him. They think he's a righteous dude.
Welcome to the Mike Rutherford Show, presented by United Mechanical, your trusted partner for commercial and industrial HVAC, electrical, plumbing, and refrigeration. Call United Mechanical at 502-339-1133.
All right. Welcome, everybody. It is Tuesday, January 13th. This is the Mike Rutherford Show, presented by United Mechanical and Nexus Plus. We're coming to you live from the world-famous University of Louisville College of Business Studios here in the heart of Gameday ready Louisville, Kentucky. College fans, incubate your inner entrepreneur with U of L's top-ranked Innovation MBA. In just 12 months, gain the confidence and the connections needed to spark your entrepreneurial spirit. Learn best practices from U of L's award-winning faculty, serial entrepreneurs, venture capitalists, and national business leaders, all while you're competing for thousands of dollars in startup funding and business plan competitions. Start your journey today. The first step is hopping online and visiting business.louisville.edu. We are on the air today from 2:32 until 5:30 here on 1450 AM, 96.1 FM, streaming across the land, including on the Big X Sports Radio YouTube channel, airing live on WBNA Channel 21. You know us better as the Big X. It's Mike Rutherford. It's Roman Kelly here with you on a Tuesday edition of the show. Game day for the Louisville men's basketball team. We are 4.5 hours away from tip-off between the Cards and the Virginia Cavaliers inside the KFC Yum Center, a top 20 showdown that means a great deal for both teams tonight. Number 16, Virginia, looking to prove its validity as a threat to win the ACC and also maybe a threat to be a Final Four, maybe sleeper national title caliber team. Louisville just needs to get right, and we'll talk about that a lot over the course of the next 3 hours. We got high drama off the field in the world of football. Lots to talk about there. Transfer portal madness continuing to roll on. Some moving and shaking going on there with regards to the U of L football program. Your thoughts on the Game Day Men's Health text line are always welcome. 502-414-1450 is the phone number there. Plan to get to today. Before we do any of it, though, we say hi to our guy, Roman Kelly. Give him a follow on Twitter, at RomyBean. Listen to him every day, 2 to 2:30 on Running with Roman, and also 5:30 to 6, Tuesday through Friday. It's the Ticket Punchers. Roman, how are you, buddy?
Doing great. Excited for the game tonight, even though it's got another one of those weird nights where I'll be calling a midway game while...
Who's midway playing?
I've already forgotten who.
Oh, boy.
I've only done the midway side of the read.
Not a great
midway side of the read for tonight, but that'll be on. We'll be on. So we've had pretty good success when I've been midway, not necessarily in the football season, but basketball's been pretty good. We'll be all right, I think, tonight. Excited to chat with you about it here. I'll be heading out at 4. Matt will be taking over for me and covering the Ticket Punchers for me tonight. So got to get there, enough time early to do my pregame and all of that, and get there with also, it's 55 minutes away or so. So I have to ensure I've getting ready for traffic and all that. So program note, heading out early today.
Okay. What time are you heading out?
Like right at 4.
Okay. We'll have to get your prediction before you leave then.
Sounds good.
Give me a quick confidence level about this game before we dive into some discussion.
Yeah.
Oh, boy.
Probably about a 6.5 or a 7.
Okay, well, that's better than I thought.
Think we're going to win. Think it's probably going to be an ugly one. Don't know if we're going to get everything we need offensively to make sure it looks good the entire game, but I do think we have enough to win tonight if Ryan Conwell plays, and it's listed as a probable, which I think is a good sign.
We're getting the injury stuff here momentarily. Did you watch the football game last night?
First half, yeah.
I mean, not a great game. All the metrics, all the weird stats saying, Steelers, whatever, Steelers stink. They had no business being in the playoffs. They got manhandled last night. Cool moment for Louisville fans last night. Sort of the finale, the capper, this thing's officially over moment. Sheldon Rankins, former Cardinal, big man touchdown, looking like he did back in the day, leaping over offensive players with a scoop and score against Boston College. Gets it done last night. That was fun. Looking up and being like, oh, big man touchdown. Oh, my God, Sheldon Rankins. Let's go. So that was a cool moment last night.
Yeah, that was cool.
Outside of that,
Steelers got handled.
It was it looked like the worst of the first-round games on paper. It ended up being the worst of the first-round games in actuality. Did not love the fact that it got the Monday night spotlight, but I guess, it's the way these things go scheduling-wise. But now we're set up for the divisional round. Should be a fun second round of the NFL playoffs. But last night, it was a stinking ending to what had been a really captivating first round of the playoffs. I know we've got a huge game on the hardwood tonight. A monumental game, I think, for the remainder of Louisville season and just the overall psyche of the program and the fan base. But I kind of feel like we have to start today with the big dog. Do we not?
I think so.
The big dog stuff is, I'm not yet on the big dog texting list. I'm trying to work my way up there. But if we were going back and forth, I'd tell the big dog right now, this is great stuff, man. Can we save some of this for late May? We got a huge basketball game today. I don't need you going back and forth with Pete Nocta and going on KSR and doing all this stuff when we've got hoops to talk about. This would be great in May or June. Give me a July big dog tweet spree. Give me something along those lines. But he couldn't hold it in. He couldn't wait. We have, I think, an increasing level of drama in the Louisville-Kentucky football rivalry, which, if we're being honest, we're kind of long overdue for some of this stuff. You had a run where Kentucky was playing the best football that it's ever played in my lifetime, and Louisville was at a low. Then Louisville hires Jeff Brom, and it feels like they're back on the uptick, and suddenly Mark Stoops is, he's done, and they've had a rough couple of years there. Now they're in the trend, and now we've got this Will Stein, Jeff Brom thing, which I think is good for the rivalry. Who knows if the games actually end up being competitive or meaningful in any way, but for right now, there's a nice little vibe among both programs. But the heart of the rivalry right now is that the two sides have essentially switched up recruiting personnel from where they were the last few years ago. Pete Nocta was running a lot of the recruiting stuff under Scott Satterfield. He was here during the second Petrino era. He's been here for a long time, and then he stayed along when Jeff Brom gets the job. Brom brings in Vince Marrow over from Kentucky before this start of the season. Marrow kind of takes over as the GM. He's doing the recruiting stuff. Nocta sort of takes a back seat. And then Will Stein, his old teammate, brings Pete and some other guys over there to run the recruiting show. So you knew that there was going to be some animosity. You knew there was going to be some bad blood. And with both programs being so close, and you knew there was going to be some crossing of streams when it came to recruiting efforts, and there was going to be a little bit of a back and forth. And the tension reached a kind of a breaking point yesterday. You had Kentucky landing an Ohio State transfer that, according to all reports, Vince Marrow had tried to land multiple times throughout his career, tried to recruit him out of high school, tried to get him to go to Louisville. Kentucky gets him. And so it's Nocta who throws the first shot, right? Nocta comes out. He retweets an old Vince Marrow tweet from a couple of years ago saying, what was it? We run Ohio, the best players come out of Ohio. Love those Ohio guys. It was, I'm trying to find the exact tweet. I've got the other tweets lined up. It was boom, let's go, nothing like Ohio football. And Nocta just retweets that. kind of a passive-aggressive move. He's not out there actively calling out the big dog. But this Roman, I'm sure you've been in this situation before where you've got like a group of friends and there's one who is always ready to rumble, always antagonizing, always poking the bear. And then you got maybe another friend on the other end of the spectrum who's very quiet, very laid back, doesn't like getting into confrontations. But there's a situation that happens where the big talker, the bully, he kind of, something happens where he gets humbled by the other guy. And it's like, ooh, is he going to do something? Is he going to say anything? And that kid throws out like a small jab. Like maybe he's just like, yeah, suck on that or something like that. Very, very like lighthearted, like haha, and everyone kind of laughs. And then the bully just goes nuts, just like loses it and goes way over the top. Their comeback is, oh yeah, well, your parents are dead. You're just like, whoa, like, oh my God, like that was uncalled for. That is not a proportional response. That's Marrow, because Pete Nocta, all it takes is a little bit of a poking of the bear for Vince Marrow to be like, all right, well, it's on. And so he starts responding to Nocta. And right as we get off the air yesterday, the heat really gets turned up. Marrow tweets out, LOL, this is so funny. Little Pete finally getting some confidence. I only been beating the crap out of him for 10 years. The streak will continue. All right, let's stop it right there. I mean, how do we feel about Vince Marrow coming out and just full on breaking out the Little Pete? Keep in mind, he worked with this man as of like 2 months ago.
I like the Little Pete.
I kind of like, look, I enjoy Pete Nocta. I think he's a really, really good guy. I enjoyed him while he was here as both a player and a coach. But the Little Pete thing is kind of funny. Kind of funny. So that happens. And then he goes back to the 2024 tweet. Like, keep in mind, there's no response from Nocta at this point. Like, UK fans, of course, are coming out with their pitchforks, and they're trying to white knight for Nocta and Will Stein, the staff, and they're calling Vince Marrow fat and all the usual insults. But Nocta himself is saying nothing. But Marrow doesn't stop. Marrow, at 10:58 p.m. last night, I feel like the big dog saw the initial message, fired off a response, got a little dinner, maybe hit up Ruby's, had a couple cocktails, and was like, all right, I'm not done with this. He goes, some people have to suck up so they can keep their job, LOL. You better stay in your place booking hotels and restaurants. What do we think of that?
That one's a little aggressive.
It's devastating. He basically is saying, your job was supposed to be recruiting coordinator. I came in as GM, and you essentially became just like an organizer. You were booking our hotels. You were figuring out where we wanted to eat when we were on the road, and that was it. That was the extent of your duties. You weren't getting players. Know your role. Shut up. Fall in line. That's Vince Marrow's message. And then to top it all off, late last night, I don't even know how he found this or why. He went and found the million accounts out there that cover college football and just do the weird lists or rankings or whatever, just trying to get money for clicks. SEC Mike is one of those accounts. And he put out a 2026 SEC head coach rankings list. I don't know why the hell you're doing this. The season's not even over. But he had Will Stein 16th out of 16. Vince Marrow finds this tweet, and again, like giving Pete Nocta a little passive-aggressive taste of his own mess, just retweets it. Just says, check this out. They think your guy's the worst coach in the SEC. Haha. All this time, he's kind of responding to UK fans. He's responding to Matt Jones. Matt Jones is like, I like you guys both. And Vince Marrow's like, to hell with that. And then he goes on his show this morning. I didn't hear what he said. He was trying to make peace. He was saying nice things about UK and nice. I don't know exactly what happened there, but the booking extremely. What do we make of this right now, Rob?
I love this. We've been talking about how not only do Louisville athletics kind of need more of this. Granted, when football and basketball are both as a pairing preparing, not doing what you want as a fan base. It's hard to be chest thumpy as fans, but we've always craved that player that represents Louisville or that coach represent Louisville being that kind of a personality. And Louisville football in particular hasn't had it in quite some time. We need it. We're trying to build a culture here. We're trying to build something here. You're trying to retain players. You're trying to make sure you're the top team in the state. You got to go against the other team in the state.
Speaking of building,
none of the Brahms are going to. Jeff's not going to do this, and he's not going to let any other Brahm do this.
I don't even know if Jeff's aware of it. Like Jeff may have no idea that any of this is going on. He's out there scouting film on who he wants to target as the third string quarterback for next season. But speaking of the word building, so Will Stein, first of all, it feels kind of weird to be followed by the head coach of UK. Every time I click on Will Stein's profile, it's like follows you. I'm like, ooh, I don't know how we're going to feel about this. But he puts out a tweet yesterday that says hashtag BBN, and then the graphic is brick by brick. And then it says building to be the best underneath it. The problem is building is misspelled. It's missing an I, so it says bolding to be the best. UK fans are incessantly harping on Vince Marrow's spelling errors in his tweets, which we did the same thing when he was at UK. The question being, can any coach on either side spell?
No.
Or can the graphics people spell? Do we need to have a UK versus U of L summer spelling contest as a fundraiser? I'm all in. I'll MC it. Would you like to spell the word buzz? Let's go. Let's do it. But I mean, it's kind of embarrassing.
It is. I don't understand how you don't have a media team looking over this kind of stuff.
Here's the other thing about Will Stein that I think is interesting. Head coach of a major program. He's tweeting a little bit more now that he's officially locked in and has the job. He's got responses off on his tweets. Do we think that this is smart or is it cowardly?
Cowardly.
It's cowardly.
But we know he's a coward.
I mean, when you lose that first game, Cat fan Ricky69 needs to let you hear about it. And you need to see what Cat fan Ricky69 has to say about how you coached against LSU or whoever just beat you by 24 points. Turn those responses on. These are your people now, Will. You can't turn your back on Central KY. You can't turn your back on the mountains. You can't turn your back on Appalachia. You've got to know what they have to say. You got to take. I want you to read every tweet, every response. You chose this life now. These people have something to say. Turn those responses on. It's coward's move, Roman. Coward's move. Is there a part of you? Okay, here's a genuine take on all this. So, Vince Marrow, he barked this bark when he was at Lexington, and we certainly had our fun with how he handled things. And we've kind of been waiting for him to have a little bit more of this type of energy since he got the job at Louisville. And he's going after Pete Nocta. He's basically like, dude, you were like my little bro while you were here. I took over what you wanted to do. You're not a recruiter. Don't try to act like you're on my level, is what he's saying. I'm like you in saying I'm fine with that. You better back it up. We can't. UK is getting a pretty nice transfer portal haul right now. They're ranked behind us, but whatever. They're getting some nice players. They're clearly doing some good things when it comes to roster assembly. We better be better. If you're going to go out there and say they took this guy that we basically said Vince is stepping in and taking all of your jobs, and if we're going to talk noise about it, you better go out there and back it up on the recruiting trail. I'm fine with talking this level of nonsense as long as it's backed up. Because the first thing, if we go out there next year again and it looks like we've got a couple of missing pieces and we lose 4 games and Kentucky's got more momentum than we do, then I don't want to hear the talking. When he was at UK and he would do this sort of thing, we had this general sense as Louisville fans that, look, at some point in time, this is going to blow up in your face. And it kind of did. He had the falling out with the staff, the Mark Stoops thing, reached its apex and then went downhill. And then it kind of blew up in Kentucky fans' face because Vince Marrow chose to leave them at the very end of the Stoops tenure and not just leave them, but go to their arch rivals and try to help Jeff Brom and company out. Is there a sense now for us that we're having a lot of fun with this, but this could blow up in our face as well?
A little bit. I kind of do. Vince's face, not ours.
Okay, but our faces are combined at this point now. His face is our face. He is Go Cards. He is L1C4. He is U of L football.
He is.
And he's barking pretty loud right now. It's so strange because it's such a far cry from the overall sort of MO of the staff since Jeff Brom took over. Brom is very much we don't need to say it, like, let's actions speak louder than words type coach, and we're going to go out there and prove it with our play, and we don't need to do the chirping and all that sort of thing. And Jeff has been pretty, he hadn't done any sort of passive-aggressive tweeting or taking shots publicly or anything like that, and the staff has been essentially the same way. And now you've got the big dog out here who is completely out of pocket, who's just going nuts and saying all sorts of crazy stuff, going on Matt Jones's radio show in the middle of the day or the middle of the morning. It's just kind of, it is one of those things where I hope we know what we're doing with this guy. There's definitely a be careful what you wish for type of sentiment. It's all fun and games until things start going sideways. And then the people, it's like anything else. People love when coaches have an attitude as long as they're winning. When coaches start losing or the program starts losing, everyone's like, why don't you stop with the talk and start actually getting some stuff done? And I think that's where the fan base is. So maybe this is the perfect time for Vince to be chatting a little bit because, we're 8 months away from playing any sort of actual football. But my God, following the drama last night was remarkable. It was, if nothing else, it's entertaining, right?
It's funny that the second tweet came so much later.
You know what happened. You don't bother Vince when it's time to go out there and have a nice dinner, have some cocktails. He responded initially. I think at first he was like, well, that suffices. That's good enough. And then he went out there, maybe started texting some people, maybe started drinking a little bit, maybe started having some dinner.
Phone calls.
And then he just kept getting more mad. He's like, you know what? I got more to say on this. And then he came back at it. And he sent the death shot after that where it's like, stick to booking hotels and restaurants. That's what you do.
I've got like buddies who do something similar. Like they'll call you. It's kind of something semi-drama related, but they're kind of like in the right. Buddy did something or said something or didn't do something or didn't after they said something, kind of a situation. And they'll call the first buddy. They kind of get talked down about it. They call the second buddy and be like, yeah, chill out. As soon as one buddy's like, yeah, he's crazy for saying that. Now every single positive, negative thing that the person who's experienced it wants to say is coming out. And now they're having all those insane opinions about the situation.
I mean, it does remind me of...
I had a few phone calls. Someone was like, go at him.
He's waiting for that one person to say, like, no, that's out of pocket. Like, you can't let that slide. He's just looking for a reason to not feel like he's crazy and that he's justified to go nuts. I also remember this being a thing where, back in the day, like junior high school, when there was a dispute between people and it was like, oh, they're going to fight at St. Joe's Picnic or they're going to fight at the Ascension Mixer. And, sometimes they would get, there'd be like that meeting and people would get in a circle and they'd kind of be like talking to each other. And then like calmer heads would prevail.
Yeah.
And they'd be like, there wasn't like a truce or anything, but they would just like kind of like, all right, we're parting ways. And then it was very clear that one of the guys went and talked to his friends afterwards, and they were like, no, you got to kick that dude's ass. And they come like flying later, like, where is he? You're like, oh, God, here we. I feel like it was that type of situation where Vince started texting people, and some people were kind of like, yeah, Pete's a loser, man. And Vince's like, yeah, he is a loser. I'm going back at him 5 hours later. This is what we're dealing with. This is life now. As long as he keeps getting us high-level talent, he can say whatever he wants to say, but the moment that stops being the case, I think then we'll be like, maybe tone it down a little bit. But if nothing else, this has injected a different type of life into the Louisville-Kentucky rivalry. Because, like I said, we had a down period of time that just so happened to coincide with their most successful period of time in my lifetime, and really anybody listening to the show's lifetime. And then right when Jeff Brom takes over and kind of gets things going is when it's very clear that the Mark Stoops era has, they've got nowhere to go but down. They did beat us in 2023, which I think momentarily kept a little bit of the back and forth alive. But us stopping them the way that we have the last 2 years, them having bad seasons, us clearly being a superior program at this moment in time, it took a little bit of the life out of it. Like, there weren't any Kentucky fans to even talk trash to after this year's game because, like we kind of had a little bit of a disappointing season. They knew that the Stoops thing was over, and the fact that it was 41-0 was the only thing that gave us something to point to and be like, all right, we got to at least say something about this. It's the biggest loss in the history of the rivalry for you. But we needed a change. If there was going to be a true back and forth between Cardinal football fans and Kentucky football fans, and them bringing in Will Stein, them taking a bunch of our staff members and players, us getting some recruits from them now getting some recruits from us. It's a perfect time to mention that Brock Kaufman, who was a freshman for us last season, was redshirting, has now officially transferred to Kentucky, led the state of Kentucky in receiving touchdowns a couple of years ago. We'll see how that plays out for them, but they're excited about that. But there's never been a time where there's been more of a UK influence on the U of L football program and vice versa. And of course, that's going to lead to some bad blood. There's always bad blood in this rivalry. But now it seems like we've got at least a couple of guys on our side who are not just open to adding gasoline to the fire, but who seem to thrive on that type of juice. And it's going to, like I said, if nothing else, it's going to make the off-season stuff a lot more entertaining here locally.
I'm ready for it.
I've missed the year. It lost a lot of luster, the summer talk between UK and U of L football fans. It lost a lot of luster when the game moved to later in the season because it wasn't the first game the whole year, and everything always came back to, well, we're going to beat you. No, we're going to beat you. We don't have that back yet, but I do feel like with Marrow and now having so much of a U of L presence on the UK sidelines, there is going to be a lot more back and forth throughout the summer because UK fans
80 points on them over 2 games.
God, I mean, but like UK fans, they got a new coach. They're bringing in some shiny new toys in the portal. You should have enthusiasm. You should have optimism when that's the case, and that'll lead to them being a lot more chesty than they probably would have been otherwise, coming off the 3 seasons that they've been coming off of. And look, if nothing else, it makes for some good summer entertainment. It's good for us on the radio show. When we come back, we will talk some hoops. Big time opportunity for the Louisville men's basketball team tonight. We'll talk about the injury reports. We'll talk about who's going to play. We'll talk about who's not going to play. It's coming up after the break. The Mike Rutherford Show, presented by United Mechanical on the Big X.
Many,
thought about what are we doing with the music today for game day? Because let's be real, we need to shake some stuff up as a men's basketball program. And I include ourselves as part of the equation. If we're going to criticize, if we're going to get upset when the team doesn't play well, we have to hold ourselves accountable as well, because everybody knows what we do here on this radio show. I can't speak for any other radio shows. I can't speak for any other hosts. What we do on this radio show directly impacts the state of Louisville men's basketball on a game-to-game basis. We've shifted with the music a couple of game days in a row. We haven't played particularly well. We keep talking about this being the moment where this team's got to get it figured out and they've got to sort of find their stride. How are you approaching the music today?
I don't know.
Oh, God.
I have a couple. I rewrote the music out, made it nice, clean cut here, and put the actual times where things get played. But we need a shift. We added Nuck If You Buck. We got a couple of wins when we added that. But we also lost a couple games when we added that.
I feel like Nuck If You Buck needs to go. Just because it was more of like a Nuck If You Chuck type deal last year, and that was Chucky. I think we need a new song.
We do, because Nuck If You Buck is an outro, and we intro back with You Don't Want These Cards. You kind of want these cards right now, so I don't know if we need that in there right now.
I still like You Don't Want These Cards being in there. I feel like we need to cut Nuck If You Buck and get something else in there. I know I'm asking you to do this on the fly, but the state of the basketball world depends on it.
Well, we've got Jim Jones next, and we need to figure it out.
Okay. We have a little bit of time. We'll make some plays here. I also failed to mention at the beginning of the show when we were talking about the Steelers versus Texans last night. It has, right before the show started, it broke. Mike Tomlin stepping down as Steelers head coach, which I kind of thought he would just stick around. I know that there were a lot of every Steelers fan that I know after last night's game was just like, all right, thanks to Coach Tom. Got to blow it all up now. Got to blow it all up. Got to start over. We've lost 7 straight playoff games. It's time for a change. I can't watch any more 10-7, 9-8 type seasons. I want to be a legitimate contender, which I understand. It still feels so strange in this day and age where consistency is so hard to find, that a guy who hasn't had a losing season in 19 years could not just keep his job until whenever he wanted to. And maybe he could have, because this is technically his doing, but it's going to feel very strange watching a Steelers football game next year and not seeing Mike Tomlin on the sidelines.
It will. They needed a change.
What if they just traded coaches with the Ravens?
That's what Matt in the Running with Roman show.
I saw that. So Chili Donovan, who's the basketball insider, he nailed exactly what was going to happen with the Falcons and Matt Ryan. He clearly gets some sort of NFL scoop. And he said, he said this in December, and said if the Dolphins decide to move on Mike McDaniel, they've already decided their top target's going to be Mike Tomlin. If Tomlin ends up leaving the Steelers, Pittsburgh's top target is going to be Chris Shula. So if Tomlin goes to Miami and Shula goes to Pittsburgh, Trilly had it first. Trilly was all over it. Trilly knows all. Crazy situation, though, happening there in the NBA. I've also been distracted by Dan Dockich on Twitter is asking fans for help getting him tickets to the national title game, and the responses are just incredible. The responses are, he's like, I need 2 tickets to the IU game. This is supposed to be Mr. IU, right? Constantly bragging about how much money he makes, constantly bragging about his connections, and he's like, I need tickets. And the first response that I saw is this guy who says, I got 2 for 1,000 total of the 10-yard line, about 50 rows up. Let me know if you're interested. And Dockich says, yes, DM me if real. And the guy, you bleeping idiot. No shot I'd sell you tickets. So, over there, if you're looking for a little bit of fun, just scroll through those mentions of Dan Dockich asking for tickets, because it's just like, pay up, loser. I'd rather burn them than give you tickets. Get bleeped, Dan. Broke ass. It's wonderful. I love seeing awful people get their comeuppance, and Dan Dockich is a truly awful person. Let's talk Louisville, Virginia tonight, though. Huge game for the Cards. Huge opportunity for the Cards. The mood of the fan base and the overall mood around the around the basketball program. I feel like we spent 3 hours talking about this yesterday, but can we sum it up? It feels weird, right?
Little bit.
It feels okay. It feels a little off, is maybe the better way to put it.
Yes.
There's just been something missing. The fan base feels it. The energy in the building for the Boston College game on Saturday, I know it's Boston College, and I know it's a Tuesday afternoon in early January, but it didn't feel the way that it should. I was writing the Virginia preview. I was watching a little bit of the Virginia game from last year, the second game we played them at the KFC Yum Center. And I'm just because I was blown away by the difference in overall energy from both the team and the fans in that game. And keep in mind, this was a point where Louisville, they were starting to get it going a little bit. They weren't ranked. There was no guarantee that they were going to be an NCAA tournament team. They were just getting that win streak going in ACC play. And the fans are going nuts. We're scrapping for every loose ball. The defense is light years ahead of what we've seen from this year's team over the last couple of weeks. And I was just like, damn, it looks way more different than I thought it would, especially given the expectations for this year's team. Michael Brown's not going to play in this game. We found that out last night. There's no even questionable, and let's see how he goes. Nobody knows when he's coming back at this point. And the fact that he's not even, that there wasn't even sort of a whiff of him potentially playing this week, I think sort of hints at the fact that it may be longer than anybody was hoping for. And certainly the murmurs and the talk about him not playing at all this season are going to get ratcheted up several notches until he actually goes out there and plays. Ryan Conwell is listed as probable for this game, but then Kenai Roots is also listed as questionable because of an illness, apparently. I think he'll play. We'll see. With
Cole Sherman.
Cole Sherman, we can't just hate on Cole Sherman and Spencer Leggs. Spencer Leggs unavailable tonight, Roman. He's out.
Play.
He's out. And then Cole Sherman is questionable as well. So that's what we're dealing with going into this game. I've got a bad feeling about tonight because, one, I think Virginia's legitimately good. They're largely untested. They don't have a huge splashy win over a ranked team in the human polls yet this season. But the metrics all kind of agree with the eyeball test, which says these guys are good. They've got a coach who knows what they're doing. They're fully healthy. They're fully motivated. They remind me a lot of us last year. Regardless of who's playing and who's not playing, regardless of the speculation around the program and the talk about this team being a little bit of a disappointment up to this point in time, you need something good to happen right now. And beating Pitt on the road on Saturday, that's not going to get it done. That's not going to change much. Even beating Virginia Tech a week after that at home probably isn't going to do much to right the vibes. Obviously, beating Duke at Cameron Indoor that Monday night would be a huge thing. But I think the fan base is desperate for something to cling to right now. We need a mojo shift. We need a turn. It feels like we're headed on a course that is not going to end up at the destination that any of us foresaw this season ending at a couple of months ago. Hell, even a month ago. We need a hard left turn. Beating Virginia tonight, despite being shorthanded in a matchup of teams both ranked in the top 20, with hopefully a lively and packed KFC Yum Center, I think would go a long way toward getting the vibes on track, toward getting this team back on track, and towards Pat Kelsey saying, see, you guys were freaking out for no big reason. The long and short of it is that right now, despite us being a top 20 team and being talked about in all these still glorious terms, we've lost 3 of our last 7 games. We've lost 3 of our last 6 games. We haven't beaten a team that right now you could say, beyond the shadow of a doubt, is guaranteed to be in the NCAA tournament. I think Virginia's pretty much guaranteed to be in the NCAA tournament. Indiana's close. Kentucky's not close right now to being a lock, and not to just being in the tournament. You need something good to happen at this point. You can't wait until early February to get it going. And that means you're going to have to make something happen without Michael Brown. If this team is able to just find a way tonight, and we'll talk about the difficulties when it comes to finding a way, I think it would do wonders towards improving the overall morale of us. I know it would do wonders towards improving my overall morale. I think it would give a little bit of an extra pep in the step of Pat Kelsey, and it would provide confidence to a team that, quite frankly, over the last 4 or 5 games, has not looked like it's playing with it with the same level of confidence that it was back in early November. I think I think this is a critical moment for this team. And if on the flip side they go out there and they kind of go through the motions and Virginia hands it to them a little bit, let's say Virginia wins by like 9, 10, 11, 12 points, God forbid more, it has the reverse effect where we know what the mood is going to be like around here. We know what the word from the fan base is going to be. And I think some of that filters into the actual program. Maybe it becomes even less likely that Michael ever comes back, even if he's fully healthy. Maybe some guys start getting down on themselves. Maybe some guys start wondering whether or not they need to be here. And it spreads like a plague. I think this is a critical moment for this team tonight. Am I overstating the importance of this moment in time, Roman?
No, I don't think you're overstating it. And I think you have every right to be worried and not feel as confident as other people do about this game. I'm not going to say it's like a turn, like this is could be a turning point kind of a game if you lose, just because there are a couple of games after this that could be in massive wins for you that could also be that shift. I think that as long as you don't get blown out in this one or lose in a crazy way, or you have a game in which it's close and then kind of fades at the end because you just don't have the shooting and you don't have the offense or something like that, I still think the SMU and North Carolina game could offer a big swing for things. But if you get blown out in this game or if it looks bad, you don't feel confident at all about your ability to make something happen. Or I'm sorry, like when you play the couple of big games that we've got ahead of us.
I think that's fair. I'm not going to say if they lose that all hope is lost.
SMU, Duke and SMU. Sorry.
Yeah, I mean, I do think if you play a competitive game tonight, you never want to lose to anybody at home. I don't think we ever thought that we would be talking about this team taking out moral victories from home losses, especially against teams that, besides Duke and Kentucky, maybe at the start of the season. But I do think situations have changed, circumstances have changed. You don't have your star guard, your leading scorer is hampered. Your energy man off the bench, who, by the way, I think we're going to need tonight defensively against Testa Ritter, is potentially not going to play. You're up against a lot tonight. But if you go out there and get blown out, even with a 7 or 8 man rotation, it adds to an already, I think, negative vibe.
Yep.
That has been surrounding the program for the last month. People don't like that they don't know what's going on with Michael. Obviously, they don't love the fact that he's been out for a month. But if they knew that he was going to come back at some point, and in old days, the coach and the player themselves telling you that it's going to happen would be enough to suffice. But now, I mean, there's misinformation everywhere, and circumstances change. And we've also been hearing for like 3 weeks that it's going to be soon. And there's no current indication that it is going to be soon. I think that has festered for a while now, and it's created some tension amongst the fan base. Because I think everybody looks at this team and recognizes that as much talent as there is on the team, if you don't have your top 10 NBA draft pick running the show, who this team was kind of built around, the team's never going to have the ability to hit the ceiling that we thought was reachable, attainable just a couple of months ago. And that has people a little bit upset. The other injuries are concerning. The play of some guys that you expected a little bit more from is concerning. The overall energy level at times with this team has been concerning. The lack of improvement on the defensive end has been concerning. And now you're at the halfway point of the year. It's not like this is early December. It's not like this is feast week. This is, you're ratcheting it up for the prime of conference play. You're supposed to be the team that now has figured itself out and is just trying to steadily improve in little areas over the course of the next month and a half to be at its peak when March rolls around. And it doesn't feel like we're getting that type of progression from this team for the obvious reason of Michael being out, but it also feels like the other guys that we expected to step up and get a little bit better over the first couple months of the year aren't making the type of progress that we expected. Now, Virginia tonight is a team that I think can exploit some of the deficiencies that we have. I don't know. I mean, have you seen UVA a little bit, or just give me a general sense of what you think about this Virginia team? Are they a legit top 16 team? Because that's where they're ranked right now in the AP poll.
I think they'll end the season right around there. I think that ultimately they're not a very, very skilled team. They just don't have anybody that's bad. They're pretty deep with a lot of guys that don't have weaknesses, I should say. They've got the size, they've got the rebounding, they've got a couple of guys who can ball handle, they've got a couple of guys who can shoot as well. They don't have that like this guy every time he puts the ball on the floor he can go get a bucket at the rim kind of a player. But
I agree.
They have that kind of a player that is on the post, right? And the Day Ritter, he doesn't have the craziest post game, but he's got the size, he's got the weight, and he does have the soft touch. They will kind of let him make things happen down there, but he likes to pass the ball, as Matt mentioned yesterday. He likes to share the wealth, and that's kind of what this offense kind of calls for. Is just, can we go out there and try to find the best shot every single time? If that means taking our time, we'll take our time. If that means speeding up a little bit, we'll speed up a little bit too. So they're a balanced team, and they've got 2 7-footers. Most teams in college basketball that have 2 7-footers and play a balanced brand of ball are not bad at all, right? That kind of is scary just in the sense that 2 6'8" guys, 2 7-footers, not that they play at the same time the 7-footers do, but
They have.
rarely. They will play. They split minutes and have consistently pretty much against all the good teams. The 2 7-footers have split minutes.
Yeah.
One's the senior on Yetso or whatever on the bench, and then there's the German kid that's the starter, the freshman for him, who's had some games which looks like he can score the ball, and then there's games where he like doesn't shoot. So
yeah, the 2 7-footers to get the one thing to remember. One of them is going to be on the floor at all times. Like they play combined 40 minutes, and if you look at their stats together, I mean, they're essentially the same player.
Yep.
One's just Nigerian and the other's German. So you can tell which one's which when they're out there. There's no mistaking it. But if you combine them, they average over 40 minutes about 16 points, 12 rebounds, and over 5 block shots per game. Like they are the second and third leading shot blockers in the ACC, respectively. They score well enough when they get the ball in scoring range. And then they're both 7 feet tall, so of course they can rebound a little bit. Like they are, I think Grunlow's a little bit more skilled than Onyenso.
Yeah.
But they both
dribble a little bit better.
For sure. They both do the same things well, and they do them really well. That's an issue for us inside.
Yeah. Onyenso's the like hard screen, hard roll kind of a guy, which Grunlow will do the same stuff, but he'll also kind of be more of a threat to score on those rolls than the Onyenso kind of play style, or the pick and rolls will be for him. Their guards aren't the best defensively, but they're big. They've got the size with their guards, so that's kind of an interesting thing.
Besides the freshman,
yeah.
Chance Mallory's he's tiny.
Yeah, the other one's like a 6'5" guard, and I believe they bring in another 6'5" guard off the bench. They can defend pretty well. You look at what they've done against other ACC teams already. I think they have had 1 game all season they didn't score. 2 games all season they didn't score 80 points. Their most recent game in which it was a super slow game for some reason against Stanford. Stanford was kind of shooting a lot of threes.
They also got up by 25 and just kind of stopped.
And when those kind of games happen, when you've got big guys, the other team's naturally going to slow down as well. They only scored 70 points against Stanford, and there was one other team I believe they only scored.
NC State, but they won by 15 on the road.
Outside of that, they're going to put the points up on the board.
It's jarring to see Virginia playing this way. I mean, we're so used to Tony Bennett style, and then last year Ron Sanchez style, where it's the slowest pace in college basketball, and they want to win games like 58-52. This team, they don't necessarily play at a breakneck pace, but they play at a pace that looks faster than it actually is, because they're like, I think it was Stanford, when they've got the ball, they want to go fast, fast, fast. When they're playing defense,
they want to make you shoot bad shots with 3 seconds left on the shot clock.
Exactly. They are, the average possession length for Virginia when they're on defense is 18 and a half seconds. That's the longest possession length on defense in college basketball outside of 2 teams. They're 352nd out of 354 teams. They defend intensely every single dribble. They are on you. And this is the biggest concern for me in this game. Is their defensive style is what I think kind of what we want our defensive style to be. And they run in, they play the way that I think we wanted to play at the start of this season and last season, where they're basically playing 10 guys interchangeably. Like their entire roster is guys averaging around 20 minutes. Everyone plays about equal minutes because they play so hard. They play so tough. They will full court press a lot, which is not great for a team that doesn't have its starting point guard and primary ball handler, and which has struggled with turnovers a little bit in recent weeks. And then their defensive style is, we are going to do everything to keep you from taking open threes. We are going to run you off the 3-point line. We are going to go over the top on screens. The second we are in your face on the catch. We are in your face on every dribble. And they're going to try to funnel everything towards their 7-foot shot blockers. This isn't the first time that we've gone up against a team that has that type of philosophy. The problem is we have not handled it well at all. We didn't handle it well at Stanford. We didn't handle it well against Arkansas until the second half when we were already down by 20. We have struggled to find open looks in half-court sets when this is the type of style that we're going up against. And to not have Michael in this one, it feels like we're at a big disadvantage offensively against this team. It's a different style, but they're still very good defensively. They're 22nd in the country in adjusted defensive efficiency, but it looks so different than what we're used to. And like you said, they've scored 80 points in all but 3 of their games. This is the most 80-plus point games they've had since 2001, 2002, and we're barely halfway through the season. Like they don't score this. They're averaging, I think, 85 points per game or thereabouts. It's the second highest average in the 120-year history of Virginia basketball. They haven't averaged this many points since 1954-55. It's just like if you didn't know, if you kind of casually follow college basketball and you're like, oh, here comes Virginia. It's going to be this slow, grinded out, like death by 1,000 paper cuts. You're in for a rude awakening tonight. The style is completely different. Ryan Odom has injected some life into that program, and they're fun to watch if you're not playing against them.
One of the things that I was noticed doing my dig, and I've only gotten to watch them play a couple of times, and obviously I didn't get to watch either one of their losses. The statistical thing that I noticed in their losses, or even in their closer games, and this may be because of the refs that day, the teams that they have lost to, one shot 29 free throws, the other shot 41 free throws. Granted, the 41 free throw team did go into triple overtime.
That game, I helped that a lot. I actually watched most of this game while getting ready for New Year's Eve celebrations. It was a crazy game. I mean, Virginia kind of needed a miracle to force overtime and then needed another miracle to force triple overtime. They probably didn't deserve to win that game, but there was a lot of it did feel like Tech was killing them by getting fouled a lot in that game.
The teams that will take those shot attempts from not necessarily 2 feet away the basket, but 4 feet away, they're going to try to, put a body on everything. And you can take advantage of that if you can also, if you have the skill and the ability to get in positions where they have to foul you. That means getting downhill, getting near the basket, getting closer to the rim. We've got enough of that, I think, if Ryan Conwell plays, to where if Adrian Woolley and Ryan Conwell can consistently do that, the threat that brings to those bigs should allow for a good amount of trips to the free throw line and some things to open up more for our front court players, knowing the threat that our guards have to get to the rim and past their man. If we're not doing that consistently, or we're not doing a good enough job of that, or we're not making the right decision after we make it, it'll be a tough night for us. I trust Conwell. I trust Woolley. I trust Pat Kelsey to address the things we just talked about.
We actually could use this being I know people hate tightly called games.
We could use an ugly referee kind of controlling game.
We could use a tight whistle in this one because, I think we need the breaks more than they do. They're the deeper team right now, especially in the backcourt. I think, also are going to have maybe a harder time generating offense against them than they are against us because our half-court defense has not been good recently. This is also a team, we talk about things that they do well that have matchup problems for us. This is the best offensive rebounding team in the ACC and one of the best offensive rebounding teams in college basketball.
Arkansas had our way with us on the offensive glass.
Yeah, I mean, we've gotten better as the season's gone on, I think, with limiting second chance opportunities, but we haven't faced teams that really thrive on it that much over the last few weeks. This team thrives on it. They get 14 offensive rebounds per game. They're second in the ACC in rebounds overall, second in rebound margin. They kill teams on the glass. They kill teams with their physicality and their size, and we've struggled with that exact type of matchup so far this season. They don't have the level of athleticism, though, with those guys that are big and good as like Arkansas or Tennessee or some of the other teams that we've played. If you're looking for reasons to be optimistic, I would say that their numbers are great, their record's great, but they're still largely untested. What they did in Raleigh a couple weeks ago was remarkably impressive. I think NC State's a good team. They went on the road. They beat them by 15. I still don't know exactly how good NC State is. And then when you look at their other quality wins, it's a bunch of teams that probably aren't in the NCAA tournament as of today. Talking Northwestern, Texas, Dayton, and that's kind of it. Butler's not very good, and they beat them by 7 on a neutral. Virginia Tech's not probably an NCAA tournament team right now, and they knocked them off on their home floor. I mean, Virginia Tech's home floor. So I think there's still some question marks. I'm of the belief that they're pretty good. I think top 15 may be stretching it a little bit, but it's not an ideal matchup for us. I hope that them having less athleticism than the teams that have had similar statistical profiles that we played early in the season will be enough for us to be more competitive in this one than we were against Arkansas and Tennessee and these other teams that we're talking about. But they've got a good combination of size and skill. They can shoot it. They're well coached. Ryan Odom knows what he's doing. They're ahead of schedule, and we got our hands full tonight. No question about it. Let's take a break. When we come back, your thoughts, Game Day Men's Health text line 502-414-1450. Football thoughts, basketball thoughts, whatever you got. We'll take it all on a loaded Tuesday of the Mike Rutherford Show, presented by United Mechanical and Nexus Plus here on the Big X.
It's like show building.
It's hour number 2 of the Mike Rutherford Show, presented by United Mechanical and Nexus Plus, Louisville's newest construction man. Tonight in men's basketball at the KFC Yum Center, the Cards looking for their first ever 3-game winning streak against the Cavaliers. Louisville still behind healthily in this rivalry, if you want to call it that. 21-7 is the all-time series, but the Cards did sweep the regular season meeting last year. This will be the first time in a non-COVID affected season Virginia have twice since the Cards joined the ACC back in 2014-15. So this is the only shot you get at these guys. Would more importantly love to notch a pretty big resume victory for this team at a pretty important time for this team. A couple things to get to before we get back to the Game Day Men's Health text line. Louisville football, we talked about the big dog drama. There's actual news to report as well. The Cards over the last 24 hours have officially announced the signing of 8 more players from the transfer portal. These are all players that we knew had committed, but now they're officially locked in. We're talking Tommy Ziesmer, the defensive lineman transfer, Jacob and Jared Smith, the twin brothers from Kentucky, Johnny Brown and Eric Storty on the offensive line, running back Marquise Davis from Missouri, and cornerback DJ Waller, as well as today, Lincoln Keenels, the quarterback from Ohio State, who is presumed to be the QB1 here, is now officially signed at U of L. Speaking of the spelling issues, Louisville put out 3 different releases this morning. The first 2 had Keenholz' name spelled incorrectly in different ways throughout the press release. Finally, we got it down to line. Look, spelling's tough, okay? This is why I'm proposing the spell off between the Louisville and Kentucky football programs this summer for charity. Let's make it happen. But Keenholz, Kienholz, is officially locked in after spending 3 seasons at Ohio State. This is your QB1. Let's get it. Let's go. He's locked in. We've got our quarterback. Let's ride. Game Day Men's Health text line, they're always riding because they're defining a new era in men's wellness. No shortcuts, just results, testosterone peptides, sexual performance therapy, and more. If you've got needs in these areas or any others, hit up GameDayMen'sHealth.com today and get your 2026 off on the right foot. Game Day Men's Health. 502-414-1450 is the Game Day Men's Health text line. Roman, are you ready for some text?
I'm ready for some text.
Here we go. Texter says, if PK wins tonight with no Michael and maybe no RC or Kanai, is this his biggest win so far as the U of L head coach?
We answered this on the Running with Roman show.
What'd you say?
We said no.
You go with Kentucky this year?
We did. But we did say if there was no Conwell and no Kanai in this game, on top of obviously having no Michael Brown Jr., this would be like the best coached game he will have had.
I think the Kentucky game is the most significant win.
It's the biggest.
And I think it's still probably more. Okay, imagine if you will. Usually we do this when it's a really positive thing, but I'm going to do this if it's a negative thing. Imagine if you will. Everything about this basketball program right now is the same. They've struggled against quality competition. The Michael mystery is continuing. They're dealing with some other injuries in other places. You know, they're close to falling out of the rankings. But on top of all of that, they've got a loss to Kentucky, who's just as bad as they are right now. Imagine what the overall mood amongst the fan base would be. Imagine what the overall mood amongst the program would be. Take whatever negativity there is right now and ratchet it up like 3 or 4 notches, right?
Yes.
Because of that, I think the win over Kentucky, even though they've ended up being a massive disappointment, would still be bigger than if they beat Virginia tonight. Having said that, I do think that maybe beating UVA on your home floor without Michael, I think Conwell's going to play. People are texting in kind of saying it sounds like he's maybe not going to play. Without those 2 guys, I think would maybe be more impressive than beating Kentucky, but I don't think it's more impactful, and therefore, with the texture's word bigger, I think the biggest win still is Kentucky, just because it's Kentucky.
I agree.
Even though Virginia's ahead of them in pretty much every ranking that's out there. Text says, Trilly's floating a rumor that Tomlin stepped down for the Steelers for the Dolphins. Please let this be true. Also, I need McNeely to drop 12 threes on these bozos tonight. It is, we didn't mention that last segment when we were talking about tonight's game. It is sort of the Isaac McNeely, Virginia, I don't even know if you want to call it a revenge game, but he played the last 3 years there, going up against his old team. We've talked on this show, Roman, a lot about how much the absence of Michael Brown has affected Ryan Conwell, having to step into that role as the primary ball handler and offense initiator, and he's looked tired at the end of games. I was listening to, shout out to my guy Jack Grossman. I was listening to him talk about the game on his podcast, and he threw a stat out there that kind of blew my mind a little bit. Isaac McNeely, without Ryan, if you take away the Montana game from the games that Louisville's played without Michael Brown, Isaac McNeely against power conference teams without Michael Brown is 10 of 47 from three. That's, I think, like 23% from three. This is a career 40% three-point shooter who, with Michael Brown, was shooting it at a almost 43% clip from three. Like, you could easily make the case that he's been the guy most impacted by Michael being out. He hasn't looked like the same player since Brown's been off the floor.
He hasn't. He's struggled. He's struggled to pick his spots and to really know his spots.
I mean, what can we do to get him going? I feel like we've gotten him good looks the last few games. He's just not making shots.
I mean, I go back to the Virginia stuff. Let Ryan play off ball. Make him the point guard.
We've tried to get McNeely, I think, going to the basket a little bit more in recent games, and it doesn't work. I know he said he was going to Louisville to prove that he's more of a complete player. That's not his game. He can do it a little bit. I mean, I think we
get him downhill off the screen, making those kick-out passes, and then relocating with the off-man screening for him. So we need him constant movement for all 30 seconds of the shot clock.
We also could use him getting to the foul line a little bit more because he
was a little better last game, but he also, I think, missed out on some opportunities last game to take advantage of that too. So
I feel like he kind of panics the second that his drive gets cut off, and it goes poorly for us after that point. But I would love to see him get to the free throw line more. I'd love to see him be a little bit more aggressive, especially against this Virginia team. They're pretty solid everywhere, but they don't have elite athletes. Like I think McNeely can play in this game. What do you think about Testa Ritter? We mentioned him. We didn't really go into detail. He's their best player. He plays more than anybody else on this team. He scores more than anybody on this team. 6'9" freshman from Belgium. I say freshman. He's 23 years old or whatever it is. I think he's 22, actually. But he is the modern big man, can score at all three levels. He's strong, good outside shooter, crafty around the rim, but he's not overly athletic. Let's say Kanai's not available tonight. Like, this is going to have to be a Javon Hadley matchup. Do we think this is a guy that Hadley can handle?
I think this is the perfect matchup for Javon Hadley.
I kind of do too.
I think it's ideal. A player that's not, maybe he has what does he have on him? 20 pounds, 30 pounds, maybe an inch or two?
I'd say, I think he's got like probably 3 inches on him. I think he's taller.
This is not an above the rim kind of a player all that much. I mean,
he's not like Trevon Brazile though, right?
No, he can dunk. Yes, he can put the ball on the floor if he needs to, but he's not overwhelmingly athletic. And he doesn't take shots that are out of Javon's realm of capability to defend.
No.
So I kind of like him to keep him under 50%.
Now, if he keeps him under 50%, that's huge because DeRitter is, like, he scores a decent amount, 16.4 points per game.
He shoots 6 for 8 type of a
Exactly.
guy.
He is remarkably efficient. He does not take bad shots. I think it's crazy that he's like 8th in the ACC in scoring, but he's also like 6th in field goal percentage. It's usually reversed. The guys that are scoring a lot are not highly ranked in field goal percentage. Shooting 55.4% from the field is typically reserved for a pretty good big man. This is a guy who's taking at least a couple of threes every single game, who is, he picks his spots. He has not shot below 50% in a game since December 20th when he was 1 for 8 against Maryland. I don't know what Maryland did really well, but that also was the second time this season that he's been held to single digits in scoring. But I think Javon can play in this game. But one of the things that I noticed, and I was hoping this wasn't going to be the case, but one of the things that I noticed when I was watching last year's Virginia game is Javon looked different. Like, he just did. I was hoping that all this talk was overblown. I feel like I've kind of been defending Javon. He was far more active in that Virginia game than he's looked recently for Louisville this season. He's more physical. He's flying around defensively. Offensively, he's pretty much the same type of player, but he was much more of a presence defensively. We need that Javon Hadley in this game because if he can hold him to a below 50% shooting night, or he can just keep him to like a respectable 12, 14-point effort, that's huge for us. What we can't have is this guy going out there and scoring 25 points on 8 of 11 shooting,
Definitely not.
Getting the free throw line a decent amount, he'll do that well. Like, we've got to have Javon hold his own in this game because I don't think you kind of know what you're getting from Kaysen. He's not going to give you I think this is a better matchup for Javon Hadley than it is for Kaysen Pryor, even though Kaysen has the height advantage over Hadley. Texter says 502-414-1450. Riddler here. I love Vince Marrow. The Cards win tonight if McNeely scores 18 plus, or if we play a primary lineup of Conwell, Woolley, Hadley, Kanai, and Frew. Well, we might not have Kanai, so. Man, if it's not one thing, it's just another.
It is.
It feels like I was hoping last year we kind of got it out of our system. The only season where we haven't had terrible injuries recently was the 2 Kenny Payne seasons. Maybe because they weren't practicing. Who knows? It was just like, could we not have gotten some of those injuries out of the way those years? Come on. Texter says, regardless of who's playing tonight, I feel like it's a must-win to position ourselves with a decent seed to make the second weekend or farther in March. If we lose, we're going to start falling in that 6 seed range and continue the questions about if we can beat a high-quality team. I don't care who's playing. We absolutely cannot come out like we did against BC. I mean, I think we all agree with that.
No chance at all. I mean, they'll go up by more than that.
For sure. If we don't come out playing like our season depends on it, I'll be disappointed. You can't, injuries don't affect effort level for the guys that are sitting out. I know maybe you're subconsciously thinking about conserving some energy because you're going to have to play more minutes than you'd like if Michael or Kanai were available. You can't think like that in this game. You've got to go. We've got to be going a million miles an hour every single second of this game from tip-off to final whistle. If they're not, then I think you sort of resign yourself as a fan to just think that part of it's not going to happen. We can still have kind of a fun next couple months, but they're never going to really grasp what it takes to be a championship caliber team. A Romanator says, so was what Mike said about Gilmore not being admitted by the university true, or is what Jody said true? Jody said, sounds like the Hardy Gilmore deal wasn't all his decision. He wanted to come to Louisville, but the staff opted not to bring him in at the end. Was told Coach Merrill even helped him with Baylor. What I was told was he didn't get into the school. Maybe it was the staff's decision and that it got messed up in translation. Or maybe this is the staff kind of trying to cover for the kid. I don't know. What I was told, and I feel pretty confident about it, was that he didn't get into school. Text says, Vince losing his mind over the retweet is an awful look. Tweeting about it for 12 plus hours and then doing a whole media tour during transfer portal season is too much. It's a rivalry. People are going to take little jabs, and degrading Pete's role at a job he worked hard at for 10 is stooping too low. I saw this take from a handful of U of L fans as well. And there is an element of it that I agree with.
A little bit. But this is rivalrying. It's what it's about.
Look, like I said, I'm okay with it. If it works in our favor, if he goes out there and helps us get a very, very good roster and we keep beating Kentucky and UK looks like they're not going to get it going under Will Stein, so be it. But this is the type of thing that can blow up in your face. But this is also the type of thing that Jeff knew was going to come along. Like this is what Vince Marrow brings to the table. You couldn't expect him to just not be the same guy that he was at UK for the last decade. Texter says, hey, Mike. Yesterday I asked about the potential of Trayshawn Hurry returning to the football team, and he announced his return a couple of hours later. Allow me to roll these good vibes forward and perform the same trick on Ryan Conwell. Do you think he'll be back tonight? Yes. We did not mention that, but Trayshawn Hurry is officially back. That came on the heels of the Harley Gilmore news from yesterday. That helps the wide receiver room. It also just helps. He wasn't a huge performer for us this season. I know, Roman, you were really high on Trayshawn Hurry. He caught the first pass of the year. I think he caught the first pass of the bowl game, but he ended up finishing with 15 catches for 122 yards and a touchdown. But he played a solid amount of snaps. He knows the offense. He was reliable when he was out there. I'm glad he's coming back.
Yeah, I think he has more to prove. He has more to show.
Yeah, this is one of those guys. We know we've got Trey Richardson, who I think you can safely, automatically slot into his starting role. And then we've got a bunch of other wide receivers that have put up decent numbers at other places who, and some guys that are still too young to have that type of resume. I'm excited for the spring practice battles, the fall camp battles, because there's playing time to be had for a lot of these guys. And I know we're not done at bringing in talent at the wide receiver position, but this is a huge opportunity for some of these guys to maybe distance themselves from the pack and step up and have the type of season that they probably were expecting to have a couple of years ago. I think competition's good. We've got good depth now. We're starting to develop good depth at that position. I think if you have one more proven commodity at the wide receiver position, then you let everybody else kind of compete for that third spot, including Hurry, you'll start to feel pretty good about the overall talent at the wide receiver position. I mean, we've got 1 million tight ends again. I think that'll help out with the passing game this year. The running game, I think, is set now at this point. Just need one more playmaker at wide receiver, and I think you feel pretty good about the overall offense. Texas, hey, Mark, I've been so busy that I've been unable to keep up with the NFL wildcard games. Did the Lions win their playoff game? Yeah. I hate this guy. The Ohio texter. I mean, every text is a Lion slam. We've been out for a long time. Just leave us alone. Texas, every time I go and check and see if there's a new CC podcast, I'm forced to relive the Knoxville Nightmare. Saying the most pod is the Knoxville Nightmare. Is that our most recent? God, that's
here in the YouTube chat too.
Look, Danny hit me up today. He's starting his new job. He's actually up in Pittsburgh. And he basically was like, if you want to do it with somebody else this week, you may have to, because I'm not going to be available until the weekend at the earliest. Romy, maybe you can jump on the CC podcast.
Let me know.
Maybe we can do. I'll get to hear you cuss on air for the first time, or cuss in recording form for the first time.
If it's after tomorrow and we don't win, or if it's after tonight and we don't get a win, you'll hear it for sure.
Even if we do win, maybe we can do one tomorrow. We'll figure it out. But I've got to get a new pod going. Texas says, would someone give Michael a glass of kosher dill pickle juice, please? Is that supposed to fix back problems?
Listen, my dad is gone crazy with the pickle juice. Been in the gym every day this week. Drank my pickle juice before I go in. Was on the motorcycle. We rode 24 miles. All I had to do was drink my pickle juice before we went out there, and I was good to go.
Is this a thing now?
I don't know where he learned it. I'm assuming it is. Red Zeppelin seems like the kind of person who would know that this is a thing too.
Is your dad actually Red Zeppelin?
No, he's not. Not the same number.
Be great.
This is a thing. I guess it's I don't know. He explained it once. I'm assuming it's something like in the sodium or some ingredient in the pickle juice helps break up the lactic acids in your muscles, I believe, or it prevents cramping is what happens.
Okay, so it's like a hydration thing.
Yes, but it has sodium, so that it's a bunch of sodium, is it not?
Well, I would assume so. Okay. I mean, I'm typing it in now. We've got benefits of dill kosher, not just regular dill pickle juice, kosher dill pickle juice. All right, this is AI, so the Google response. Take it for what it's worth. Kosher dill pickle juice offers benefits like muscle cramp relief, rehydration due to electrolytes like sodium and potassium, potential blood sugar control from vinegar, and gut health support. Plus, it contains antioxidants. However, it is high in sodium, so moderation is key, and check labels as pasteurization can remove probiotics.
It's kind of wild that much sodium is still offering the hydration relief. But yeah.
I drink liquid IV every day. I can afford to send some Michael's way if that's the issue. We can get him going on that front. I don't know if kosher dill pickle juice is going to help with back spasms, but at this point, I'm willing to try anything. Just try. Just whatever we can do. Texas, Mike, I tried to ask yesterday, but I don't think you got to it. I had a lot of people text me like, you didn't get to my text. Yeah, I was like, we had a busy show. It's Monday. It's tough. Do you think part of the reason the communication from the basketball team sucks and basketball's relationship with local media sucks is because it's not where I expected this to go, is because our sports info director is a 25-year-old with a general marketing degree and no experience? Is Dana Brown doing the same job as Kenny Klein was doing? If not, why not? I love Dana. I think Dana's doing a great job.
I believe Dana was not actually doing this job and got asked to do double duties.
She was she was initially doing some other stuff with U of L, and then Kenny ended his career, and I think they went through the process of potentially hiring a new SID, and at the end of the day kind of just chose to stay in house with that. I mean, because initially that there wasn't like, I don't think she was like the full-time SID.
She was kind of like just doing some of the SID duties because they didn't have anybody.
And this was, a couple of years post-COVID. Everyone's trying to prepare for the brave new world of revenue sharing and trying to make as much money as possible or save as much money as possible. So bringing in a new full-time employee to handle this is not ideal if somebody else can handle the duty. So they went with Dana. I think she's done a good job. You're seeing a lot of athletic departments across the country not have full-time dedicated SIDs to single sports anymore, even the big ones like football and men's. I mean, Rocco and Dana, I think, both cover other sports for U of L. They both help out on other fronts. It's just kind of the way it is. I mean, I don't know if you can't force your head coach to like have a cool relationship with the media. And I'm not saying that Pat Kelsey has a bad relationship with the local media. I mean, like he and I don't text or anything, but it's not like I'm like, hey, Pat, why don't you come on the show every single day? I hate this guy. I've got no issue with that whatsoever. So, I mean, do we think Pat Kelsey needs a better relationship with the media? It feels kind of weird for me to be saying that as someone who is up there.
I mean, not everybody does weekly radio shows with the media like he does. Coaches at his level. I mean,
they kind of do. It's in most coaches' contracts. But like, here's the other thing too, and I say this out in the open. Like maybe if there were information that he wanted to get out there, people like me and you, we could be valuable resources. But I'm also like, I pride myself in the fact that over the years, when people have kind of tried to do the whole like, hey, put this out there, and I know it's not true, like I'm not going to do that for you. If he were to text me and to say like Michael's out for the year, but I need you to keep telling people that he might come back, I'm not going to do that. So
I would do that.
Just kidding. So like, if he's looking to have that type of relationship with the media where things light, I'm never going to be that guy. I'm never going to do that. I'd rather have less access than be that person.
Louisville is the fan base wants the clarity. We want to know the facts.
I think Pat Kelsey wants to know the facts at this point. I think he just doesn't. I don't think anybody knows.
I don't think there's necessarily an issue with the things that between the basketball and the coaches and the Louisville local media. I think there has been topics that Louisville fans and Louisville media prioritize wanting to know more than the average kind of fan base maybe wants to know. And then there are also topics that him and his position hasn't always been able to get certainty on, right? Like what's the offense and defense going to look like now that we're going through these injuries when he doesn't know who's going to be what? What can Noah Waterman do? Can he shoot? Can he not? He's had so many uncertainties already in these first 2 years that I think he's kind of like had to learn on the fly how to deal with being my true self, but also not knowing the answers to so many questions.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's very fair. If he were the head coach if you're the head coach at anywhere, there's going to be a lot of focus on a superstar freshman who's mysteriously out for a month and nobody knows when he's going to come back.
He's never had a superstar freshman in his life.
Exactly. And if you're the head coach at even a good program, like you're the head coach at Oklahoma State, and you got a star player who's not playing and people don't know, it's not the daily source of debate or talk on every radio show in Stillwater, Oklahoma. It's not. Like, they're talking more football, they're talking NFL, they're talking more national. Here, it's all anybody wants to know. I mean, I get text every single day by friends who refuse to listen to my radio show, great friends, who are like, is Michael playing? I'm like, dude, there's a post on my website about this. I talked for it 3 hours yesterday, but everybody wants to know what's going on because that's who we are as basketball fans. Everybody wants to know. And I think if we had some sort of idea that, like, you don't need to know the specifics, but hey, it's okay. Like, we've got this handled. He's coming back at some point, or he's not coming back, but it's going to be that would be one thing. But I think everybody has this fear that there's all sorts of, there's a lack of control behind the scenes, and Michael's being pulled a million different directions, or we're secretly being played and he's never going to suit up again. And it's all like, I think that's the big fear amongst the fan base. If we need to reset our expectations for the remainder of the year, like, that sucks, But it would be better to know about it than to be strung along and to have some false hope for the next month or so. Because I do think if you take Michael off this team, the ceiling is lowered dramatically. I don't think that's a hot take. You take the most talented player off any team, their ceiling is going to go down. But if we knew that we need to reset our expectations to make the NCAA tournament, get the best matchup, hope to win a couple of games, it'd be easier to stomach than if we got to late February and we're like, well, this sucks. We kept hoping we could be a Final Four caliber team, and now the kids we're never going to see him play. I think that's the big fear that's out there, and it's what drives the conversation around here. So we just, we want to know. We want to know. Gotta go to break. When we come back, more from you guys. Game Day Men's Health text line 502-414-1450. It's the Rutherford Show on the Big X.
Put anybody in front of us, we guarantee to win. Look you dead in your eye.
Roman Kelly is on Midway Basketball, which means we've got producer Matt Childress in the house, actually producing, not just sitting in here and doing some co-hosting duties. Big thanks to Roman. He did not get a chance to make his prediction, but he just let me know off air. He's got the Cards winning tonight, 81-79. I will take that. That would be a thriller. We would have a very, very high vibe, good feeling show tomorrow if that winds up being the case. Hopefully he's right. Producer Matt is here for the next hour and a half. Matt, how are you, buddy?
I'm good. I was in here for the beginning of the show. Normally I would sit in with you guys and talk, but I was prepping for helping him out with ticket punchers and some stuff got going on later. So we're in here now, and I'm excited to talk with you, Mike.
How are you feeling about this game tonight? We shared our thoughts. I am apprehensive, to put it mildly, about tonight. Where's your confidence level?
It's with Ryan Conwell as probable. My confidence of about a 6.5.
Okay,
and that might be shooting it kind of high, but I feel I wear my heart on my sleeve as a fan. I get more confident as the game goes on. I'm pretty sure when I walk in the arena tonight, I'll be on a 9 out of 10. I'll be excited to watch it, but I'm nervous because this is one where technically it's not like do or die kind of win here, but Pat Kelsey in general, not just for the resume, but just for the fan base. I mean, you really need this one.
I appreciate you not saying must win. Just avoiding the terminology altogether is I respect that. I appreciate it. A little piece of news here to start the 4 o'clock hour. Texas wide receiver transfer DeAndre Moore. I told you it wasn't coming, guys. He's committed to Colorado. 77 catches last season, 988 yards, and 11 touchdowns. A lot of thought that he was going to go to Kentucky for a little bit. They got their hopes up. What happened that got Louisville fans? Remember, I came on the radio last week or 2 weeks ago, whenever this was, and kind of told you who to get excited about, and I told you also DeAndre Moore's not coming here. This is basically he's doing a favor to Deion Branch. He's also got a girlfriend that lives here that he wanted to see and got a free visit out of it. I was like, this isn't happening. And then that night, like all these people are like, I'm hearing that you're wrong. I'm hearing that it's Louisville. The next day, people are like, it sounds like things are moving in our direction. From what I'm told, like there was never a real shift. Like we had a visit here, he had that picture that was up there, but there was never any moment where people at U of L thought that they had like, we've got it. We swayed him. We pulled him in. I think everybody kind of knew what was going on here. Would have loved to have had him, but I don't know exactly where that came from. I'm always just interested when something like that gets out where it's like, there's been a big swing. Is it coming from the kid himself? Is his camp putting it out there, or are people just making stuff up? But I don't think we ever really had a chance here, which sucks because he's a very good player. But he will go to Colorado. Colorado football, still a thing. Who knew? I thought they just shut the program down. But best of luck to him, I guess. 502-414-1450 is the Game Day Men's Health text line. We also have a new bracket out from Mike DeCourcy, Fox Sports, for his NCAA tournament projections. He's got Louisville as a 6 seed, taking on Auburn in the first round. Give me Stephen Pearl's head on a spike. Let's go. Let's take him out. I'm good with that. I don't care. We've had some good runs as a 6 seed. I'd rather be a 6 than a 5 any day of the week. Fair?
I think it's fair.
I love the 6. You get 6-11s making runs in the tournament all the time because you get that second round matchup against a 3 seed. There's typically a pretty big drop off between the 1s and the 2s and the 3s, and then you get a more favorable matchup in the Sweet 16 than if you've been on that 5 or 4 line. I'll take a 6 seed. Would love to be a 3 or a 2, more than that, but if it came down to it, wouldn't hate being a 6. We could get feisty as a 6 seed. Let's go back to the Game Day Men's Health text line. Texter says, the Pete Nocta versus Vince Mero feud reminds me of storylines in professional wrestling where the heel turns into the face and the face turns into the heel. It's a weird thing. The thing is, like, they're both kind of behaving the same way. They're just doing it in different It's not like Vince Mero has become the nice guy because he's on our side. He's still doing the same types of things that would have driven us crazy if he'd been doing it in Lexington. He's just now doing it on our side, and the shots that he's taking are at the expense of the other side. So we love it. But I feel like the roles are kind of the same.
I was talking to TJ and Peak earlier about this whole situation.
What did they have to say about this? I didn't get a chance to hear the show.
I mean, they were making fun of it because it's Vince Mero. They were basically giving the whole, could you imagine this? And this is the most Vince Merrill thing ever. Just stuff like that. I came back and I said to him, this just reeks of the whole Mark Pope, Pat Kelsey scuffle news in terms of it just seems like it's so publicly blown up that it's fake. Like almost that it's staged. You know what I mean? Like him and Pete Nochter are like, hey, let's draw up some Twitter beef right now. And then for some reason we'll get Nick Roush in on it again.
I can guarantee you that it's not. But Roush does always seem to get drug into this. He's like Pete Rose in the old wrestling days where he would just miraculously show up for no apparent reason and then just get tombstoned by Kane every single time or chokeslammed by Kane every single time. I love it. It does feel like it's scripted, but I can pretty much guarantee it's not. It's not scripted. Texter says, PRTG here. Mike and Roman, you should all recommend reading Fourth Wing with your significant others. It's okay, but I'm not going to read that part. I can't say that. It sounds like it's a 50 Shades of Grey type situation. If you weren't having your girlfriend read 50 Shades of Grey 13 years ago, I don't know what you were doing. Just saying. If I hear one more person say IU developed talent or they only have so many blue chips, I'm going to lose my mind. They're upperclassmen that aren't the same as when they came out of high school. If Lamar transferred to a school in this day and age, would we say, and he's only a 3-star? I got into a heated debate with my father-in-law who's a UK fan, simping for IU. Yum is the old LG&E site. Coincidence? Question mark. It's a lot of stuff right there, PRTG. I don't have much to get to. I do understand, like recruiting rankings don't mean the same thing as they used to. You can't reference someone's recruiting rankings when they're 22 through 23 years old. They're no longer a 3-star player or a 4-star player or a 5-star player. They're a former that. They are what their numbers say they've been for the last 3 or 4 years. Agreed there. Texas says, I have a very important ethics question. Can I pretend to be a Kentucky fan if the person interviewing me for a job is also one? I have all the crybaby talking points down, and I'm so ready to talk about my grievances with Denzel Aberdeen. I mean, on the surface, I would say I don't have a huge issue with this. The problem is what happens if you get the job, right? You have now roped assuming this is somebody that you're going to see on at least a fairly regular basis. I don't know if you're working remotely, but the person interviewing you is surely going to be around in some way, shape, or form, and they're going to have conversations with people that are probably working directly with you or above you. And if it gets out that you're the Kentucky fan, you've got to wear that persona for as long as you're at this company. It's one thing to just get a job, but it's another to have to carry that torch for the remainder of your professional career. I think you're walking a dangerous line. Matt, what say you?
No, you're definitely walking an incredibly dangerous line because, like you said, there's going to be a time where even if you feed into this lie, and it's the same thing as like when you lie on your resume and you get a job that you're just not qualified for. At some point down the line, you're going to be asked of something that you weren't ready for because you forgot about the lie.
Yeah,
and you're going to slip up.
Yeah,
and then now, if it's a situation like this where it's like a kind of a dumb lie, it's like, why would you lie about that? Your whole persona is now in their eyes has changed.
Nobody trusts you.
And you've tainted the eyes of all Louisville fans around for that guy, that person, or that woman, whoever it is.
Now, I've never done this in any sort of professional capacity. I mean, every now and then I will kind of like, I'll lie about how much I dislike Kentucky because, you know, like I told the story last year about how I have an aunt who's always texting me during basketball season about, you know, I'm so happy for the car. And she's a diehard UK fan. And she'll text me about the Cats and be like, what a tough one. And I'll have to be like, yeah, I thought they had it. Like, you know, I'm sorry. And I'm not, the fact I love my aunt, I'm not sorry. Like, she's got a lot going for her. Her life is fine. She's going to be okay if Kentucky loses every basketball game. So I don't feel that bad for her when Kentucky loses. I don't, but I act like I do. I remember in college when I was going to Dayton, this is my freshman year was the year after Ohio State had won the national title. I hate Ohio State football. Back then, I hated them more than Kentucky because Kentucky was just irrelevant. And Kentucky fans, they were worse at pretending like they acted, acting like they cared about football back then. They just they wouldn't even engage. So Ohio State football was like my arch nemesis. We would go to these house parties in Dayton's student neighborhood, aka the ghetto, and almost all of them were Ohio State fans, and they had free beer that they would give, and you kind of have to like suck up to the people whose house it was. And I would just be like, Craig Krenzel, man, he's just a winner. he's not flashy. He just gets it done. And like they're going to beat Michigan tomorrow. And I felt bad about it, but also I needed free beer. I was 19. Got to do what you got to do in those types of situations. It's a little bit different. I felt crummy about it. I felt a little gross inside, but I did what I had to do. You, though, are committing yourself to a potential like decades-long lie. And I think that that's more dangerous than anything else. You can't do that.
The repercussions within your career down the line for this one small lie, not in your workforce. They wouldn't fire you for it, but now you're always looked at as the Louisville liar.
Yeah, I mean, can you imagine trying to keep that persona up for 30 years? You're 62 and you're working at the same company and you're talking about Kentucky head coach Denzel Aberdeen. And you're like, I can't believe that I texted into the Mike Rutherford show back in 2026 about this, and here I am. Still, these people know me. I get a UK fan gift every single Christmas. It's all I get. My birthday, they get me a UK cookie cake. It's all anybody knows about me. It's become my defining character trait, and it's all a lie.
It reminds me of, have you seen that commercial? It's a group of people, and they're at a bar in the airport, and one of them is a Florida fan, I think, and the other ones are like FSU fans or whatever. And I think they're watching the FSU Florida game, and the Florida fan has a jacket on, and he like cheers, and he's like, I mean, dang it! Oh no! It's like a credit card commercial or something like that. And then they're all like, oh yeah, good job, man. Because they think he's a Florida State fan or something. This is what it gives. Like, you can't even go out and watch your favorite team anymore. You got to keep your head on a swivel. What if your boss walks in? What if a coworker walks in?
I agree.
The entire hierarchy of the business just comes to a halt.
Sorry, I'm distracted now by the. So is the UFL draft happening right now?
It's 2 days. It started yesterday. It's going on right now, I think, as well.
We got our first pick.
Okay.
Offensive lineman J.D. Dorenzo.
Ooh.
He's a king.
It has been funny. So I'm
just going to tweet out, we got Dorenzo, guys.
I have their notifications turned on, like just to see any news about the team and stuff like that. And they have, I told this to Roman during one of the breaks, but they have been tweeting these players that like UFL Kings are signing and players that are coming on roster as if they're like top portal prospects. And I know, lose my mind on it.
It is so funny seeing, because I'm so used to like U of L, they'll tweet out, Trayshawn Hurry's back or something like that. And God, or, we got him. Lincoln Keenel signed. We got our QB1. And Louisville Kings kind of communicates the same way, except we've never heard of any of these players besides, the ones that have direct Louisville ties. But, they'll be like, the speedster is officially a king. Let's get to work, Jonathan Blankenbaker. And people are like, who the hell is this? You're looking him up. It's like he had 16 catches for Southeast Louisiana 3 years ago. We're like, all right, let's go.
My favorite one is literally it's 3 hours ago. It's supposed to look like an email basically, but it's a tweet. It says, QBs, Cameron Dantzler is coming.
We got
him. Who is Cameron Dantzler? It's a clip of him getting a pick six. So I'm like, oh, he's a DB. Okay, that makes sense.
I also thought it was weird. They announced the entire league announced like the quarterbacks for the upcoming season and where they were going. Jack Plummer's in the league. He's not a king. He's on like one of the other teams. I mean, maybe Jack Plummer was kind of like,
please don't send me that.
I kind of think if I were him, I'd sort of be like, they already kind of hate me from what I did at U of L. If I go there and I'm not very good, they're going to have no issue. Like he would become the face of the franchise in all the worst ways because we don't know anybody else besides him and Willie Tyler. And we'd be like, Plummer sucks.
Oh, just imagine he just misses the one little dig route across the middle, like overthrows him. It's just, we've seen this before.
The entire public locally that's tuning into the game just turns it off after the first drive. Like, seen enough. Can't watch this guy play football anymore.
Jack, we got to trade you. It's just not, the ratings are tanking, man.
He gets traded at halftime for another player that we've never heard of. Just like, all right, let's go. I'm into it. Let's go, though. Spring football. It'll be here soon. AJ Dorenzo, we got him. JD Dorenzo, we got him. I'll give you I've got no idea where J.D. Dorenzo played college football. Should we take a guess?
We could take a guess.
He's a big white offensive tackle. You want to say Iowa. J.D. Dorenzo's not a very Iowa name, though. Give me Virginia Tech.
More north.
Okay.
Historic football university.
In the north?
Northern.
Oh, God. I mean, you say historic. Rutgers?
He started Sacred Heart, transferred to Rutgers his final year.
I was going to be mad at you if Sacred Heart was the answer, because I was like, you can't say Sacred Heart is a historic Northeast football power. Okay. So he went to Rutgers for, was he good?
I don't know. This is the AI review.
We got him, though. Don't worry about it. J.D. Dorenzo.
He did start all 12 games.
Oh, okay. First draft pick in Louisville Kings history. Let's go. From the mean streets of New Jersey all the way here to Louisville, Kentucky. Texture says, Trump ruined calling anybody little anything. Can we not use, so does Little Pete not work because Trump does nicknames?
I guess not.
Anytime I hear nicknames, all I can think about is how when I would talk to Virginia when she was 2 years old, Mary said that I always talked like the Trump of our house because I gave nicknames. I'm like, here comes Crazy Penny, like our dog. And I'm like, Mean Mommy's here to say no. And she's like, you sound like Trump. So me communicating to my 2-year-old is the same as the nicknames that we get, which is kind of about line. Texture says, Dan Dockett, getting his ass handed. We tackled this before we got to Scoot Tater. Love it. Texture says, you know who else is from Pittsburgh? Kurt Signetti. Signetti's not leaving Indiana to co-coach the Steelers. Can you imagine? What if Signetti did take the Steelers job after winning the national title in 6 days, and Indiana football just went right back to being a pumpkin and was never good again? We're all 95 years old, and we're looking back, and we're just like, was it all a dream? Did that actually happen? We live the rest of our lives, and there's never another surprise powerhouse team that comes out of nowhere to take the sport by storm, and the same 15 teams win every national title. I don't think that's going to happen, but I guess it's possible.
I'll raise you one. What if he goes to the NFL? He pulls a football Rick Pitino, goes to the NFL, doesn't really work out, and then comes back to Purdue.
Ooh, he kind of Sabins it, or Calipari's it. Goes to the pros, can't get it done. Comes back to the college level and just is even better than he was the first time.
I also told Roman, I was like, what world? Do you think there is a universe out there that John Harbaugh and Mike Tomlin just swap jobs? They just trade.
Yeah, I brought that up too. I've seen the graphic out there too. Truly doesn't think it's going to happen. Truly thinks that he's put his official word out there that it's Tomlin's taking the Dolphins job. And Shula's getting the Steelers job.
Shula?
He called this in December. He was right about exactly what happened with the Falcons at the end of the season. He called that in December, and he also had a similar post in December saying, if Tomlin leaves Pittsburgh, Miami wants him to be their head coach, and the Steelers will have eyes on Mike Shula. We'll see. We'll see how that plays out. He's right more times than not.
Mike Tomlin's just the best loser in football history.
What do you, if you woke up if you had fallen asleep in 2010 and gone into a 16-year coma, what would surprise you more? Like global pandemic, Donald Trump as a 2-term president, or Indiana being the best team in college football? I kind of think Indiana football.
I don't even think it's close.
I think Indiana football would surprise me more than Trump.
For in Donald Trump's sake, we've seen Ronald Reagan, who was an actor, become president.
There's a little bit of precedence, sure,
a little bit, and then the pandemic. What was it? H1N1 that was really big in the before 2000 or in the 2010s at the beginning. Bird flu, like that. We thought that was an epidemic for a little while. Indiana football definitely would be you wake up and you're like, gosh, everything seems similar. Indiana football's in the national championship.
That's where I'd be like, nah, somebody gave me the blue pill. None of this is real. Everything is fake. I can buy, streaming services. There are no blockbusters anymore. Everybody just does everything on their phones. Whatever. This is weird. I get it. There's no way in hell that Indiana. We finally got a college football playoff, and Indiana is about to be the first 16-win team in the history of college. No, that's where I draw the line.
Or they have a genuine argument to say that they could possibly be the most dominant football team in the college football history.
I would go to the nearest building and jump off just because I would be convinced that I could fly. I'd be like, this isn't real. Like, I'm going to fly here, and then that would be the end of it. And Kurt Signetti would kill me. That's how it would work. Texas Mike, consistency means jack when you are perpetually being kept in football purgatory, which is exactly where the Steelers have been since COVID. This move to blow it all up was long overdue and will be well worth it, even if it means a few years of being terrible. Look at New England. After Brady left, they blew it up, rebuilt, and now they're right back to being contenders for the foreseeable future. I don't disagree. Like, I was saying how strange it is, but I also don't blame the Steelers fans. I always point to the example that I'll always point to when this happens is Georgia with Mark Richt, because Richt was always getting them to 9-3 or 10-2, and had all this success, one of the highest winning percentages in college football history. And at a certain point, Georgia fans were just like, okay, like, cool, but you've been here long enough that we know this is who you are, and we don't think you're ever going to get us over the hump. At a certain point, like, you'll run the risk of going 6-6 as opposed to 9-3 if it means there's at least a potential to go 12-0 and get to play for a national championship. They roll the dice. Every college football writer in America is like, what a bunch of idiots. This is, be careful what you wish for type situation. They got Kirby Smart and they started winning national titles and getting to where they wanted to be. I think there are other sides of that same coin. If you want to stay in Pittsburgh, Jamie Dixon with Pitt basketball, they were like, I can't believe we're only like going to Sweet 16s and only being 4 seeds now. He can't get us to a Final Four. He can't win us a national title. We need somebody in here who's going to take us to that next level. And they've sucked ever since then. Like, they forced him out. They made terrible hires, and Pitt basketball has been a joke ever since they got rid of Jamie Dixon. And Dixon's gone to TCU and inspired some life down there. So it can go both ways. But I think if you're a Steelers fan and you've been dealing with this for 19 seasons and you feel like you haven't been a legitimate Super Bowl contender for at least the last 6, 7, 8 years, you're fine with blowing it up. You're fine with going through a couple of losing seasons if it means you at least have a chance to dream bigger things moving forward. I get it. I mean, I assume, Matt, that you were kind of okay with the Pats blowing stuff up a few years ago because it gave you a chance to get to the...
So originally when Tom Brady moved on to the Buccaneers, Bill Belichick had deserved as much time as he wanted. He was the GM as well. I never really agree with that, but we immediately saw that more of that of his career seemed to be Tom Brady. We were like, you just had one of the greatest athletes ever live on your team. That's different. As soon as he left, I immediately knew, this is the full rebuild. We're going to have to completely restart. This guy can't run anything anymore. We got to move on. I am surprised to see that it's been so fast. But a lot of that, I have to thank the Tennessee Titans for just being one of the worst front offices in professional sports, and
there's definitely that,
giving up Mike Vrabel for no reason at all.
There's definitely that. The Titans are pathetic. It is. There's no point in blowing it up if you have no plan.
But I'm happy where they're at now. Obviously, we're going to play a divisional hosting the Texans at home. I'm nervous about that game, but at the end of the day, I'm just enjoying watching Patriots play playoff football again.
I don't blame you. I will enjoy watching the Lions play playoff football if they ever get back.
I actually wanted to ask you this. So I have a friend who's a big Lions fan.
Okay.
And I was, me and him talk, we joke trades all the time, this and that. Next year, I think Jared Goff has like a $60 million something cap hit.
Yeah.
Let me just pitch something to you right now. I want to see your opinion on it too. He hated it, but I want to see if you're a little opposed to it. Green Bay wants Matt LaFleur gone. I don't think he's shown enough in his resume that another team that's not, the Raiders or something would pitch him as a head coach. And do you think Dan Campbell calls Matt LaFleur and is like, hey, we'll give him Jared Goff and maybe an extra player, and then you bring Malik Willis over and you bring us Matt LaFleur as a coordinator, and you can get a quarterback who's kind of proven he's talented, he's got the arm strength, he's got the speed, he's got the athleticism, and you take some cap space, and you get an offensive coordinator, which the Lions kind of desperately need right now. Not obviously that's not a guarantee to probably would never happen, but if that were to be, would that be something you would accept?
No.
You wouldn't?
No. I don't think Malik Willis can get it done.
You don't think so?
No. I also don't think that he would fit in well with Lions.
That makes sense.
I don't think they would. I mean, they're going to kick this contract down the line. They're going to kick like Goff will take a less money next year. I think they'll invest. It's going to hurt them down the line, but I think they want to compete next year. I think they're going to take some money. They're going to try to invest in the secondary. I mean, they need to get healthy in the secondary. They need to get better on the offensive line. I think that's where they'll draft. But I think that they're going to say, like, we'll worry about these contracts in a few years. Jahmyr Gibbs is going to become the highest paid running back in football in a couple of years as well. Maybe not with Detroit. But as far as like that type of, no. I think Goff's got a couple more good years.
I'll say, are you still full in on Goff, or do you think that you'd rather have somebody else?
He didn't play great this year.
Because I feel like you guys have the talent at the skills positions that Goff kind of undersells it. Like if you had somebody with a bigger arm or a little more athleticism, that you could really use J-Mo and Jahmyr Gibbs.
That's the thing. I mean, his completion percentage was. We got to go to break. Sorry, we're talking about Jared Goff all day. We got to go to break. When we come back, more on Jared Goff. More from you on the Game Day Men's Health text line. It's Game Day here on the Rutherford Show, presented by the Big X.
Let me show this motherfucker how hard it's hard.
scared. I ain't never scared. We're back in final hour of the Tuesday edition of the show. Mike Rutherford, Matt Childress here with you on a Tuesday. It's a game day edition. 2.5 hours away from tip-off between Louisville and Virginia. The 20th ranked Cards hosting the 16th ranked Cavaliers in a game that Louisville, at last check, I don't know if it's changed, was favored to win by 3.5 points. I was a little bit surprised that was the line, given Louisville's injury issues and the way that they've been playing recently. But the Cards will be favored to win this game. Louisville 1-3 against top 25 teams so far this season. That one win was against a Kentucky team that now is not sniffing the top 25. The Cards 4-8 against top 25 opponents under the direction of Pat Kelsey. You may say, well, that's not great. It's better than what Virginia has done against ranked teams the last couple of years. Virginia 1-9 in its last 10 games against ranked foes. They were 0-6 against ranked teams last season and 1-3 against top 25 opponents in 2023-24. Obviously, this year's Cavaliers are rejuvenated. They got a new head coach in Ryan Odom, who's been fantastic. They've got 12 new players, 7 of them from the transfer portal, 2 of them from Europe, 3 of them are freshmen, and they've been playing fantastic basketball so far this season. The Cavaliers will bring a 14-2 overall record and a 3-1 mark in conference play with them into the Yum Center tonight. We're hearing from you about this game, about the transfer portal, about the Big Dog and Pete Nocta feud, and all sorts of stuff in between on the Game Day Men's Health text line, which is 502-414-1450. People are sending me all sorts of Louisville Kings stuff now. And I don't know any of these players. I'm glad Willie Tyler's here, but everybody also seems to have the same opinion that, like, you know why Jack Plummer's not playing. I think it was a mutual decision between Plummer and the Kings that he would not be a Louisville King. So who's the quarterback we have is the kid from North Texas, right?
I believe so. I know we have 2. We have him, and then
we're looking for a third. I know that too.
What was it?
I think we have a quarterback from Kansas, and the quarterback from North Texas is that Jake Bean?
Yeah. I know that. Yeah, Jake Bean and Chandler Rogers are the 2 quarterbacks we have right now.
I might get a Jake Bean jersey.
That'd be kind of tough.
Bean, number 2. Jake Bean's also a Canadian defenseman in hockey, so I'm gonna have to specify that I want. God, I mean, Jake Bean. It's one of those when you Google search his name, it doesn't come up with like the option of, are you talking about it's like all just the hockey player stuff. Jake Bean. The AI review is Jake Bean in football seems to be a mix-up with different athletes. There's Jake Bain, an openly gay high school football courage, and a former college football recruit, Jake Bean. No, I'm asking about Jake Bean, not Jake Bain. Why would you think it's a mix-up? It's just Jake Bean. Jake Bean played Jason Bean. Okay, his name's Jason. Okay, is that right?
No idea.
It looks like it's Jason. He played for North Texas and Kansas, so I'm the one who combined 2 players into one. He played 3 seasons at North Texas and 3 seasons at Kansas. He was a practice player for the Colts a couple of years ago, and now he's back playing football for the Louisville Kings. Let's go. This has been your Louisville Kings update today. Texter on the Game Day Men's Health text line says, I wish I was more excited about tonight's game, but I'm at about a 3 out of 10 confidence level with the Stanford game, the second half of the Duke game, and the first half of the BC game. I just have a hard time believing this team will beat a good opponent until we see some serious commitment to defense or Michael comes back. There's a general, I was talking to Roman about this, and I want to get your thoughts, Matt. I feel like there's a general malaise amongst the fan base with regards to this team. Nothing like the last Chris Mack season or the 2 Kenny Payne years. Not that level of indifference. The fan base, I think the fan base is just like, we kind of need something to believe in at this point, and you guys aren't really giving it to us. We're frustrated with the Michael Brown thing. We're frustrated that we haven't beaten anybody good. We're frustrated at the overall effort level and the defense at times with this team at key moments over the past couple of weeks. Before we get fully back engaged, you guys are going to have to kind of give us a reason to get excited again, which is why I think tonight is so important, because this is that type of win. This is that type of win that would inject that life back into the fan base. I feel like we're all just sort of waiting and hoping for something good to happen.
No, I mean, that's exactly where we are. To answer your question, I'm around the same area. Like, I'm always super excited to watch my team play. This team is extremely talented, and they are fun to watch when they're firing on all cylinders. But because of all the negative, I don't want to say issues right now, they're going around the off-court stuff, but everything going on right now has just kind of tainted everything. And, our early season schedule is not looking like what we thought it was going to look like. It has just made an issue. It's just kind of like a snowballing effect of factors that have really brought the fan base down. For example, I cannot get on TikTok right now, Mike, without my For You page being 45, like, Chucky Hepburn edits being like, we miss you.
Oh, really?
That's what it is every day.
I'm not on talk enough to know what the kids are saying.
And it's just like one of those things. It's like, man, are we, like, we're not down that bad, guys. Come on. Like, as much I miss Chucky. I love him.
Okay, real quickly, though, devil's advocate. I mentioned earlier I rewatched the second Virginia game from last year. It made me miss Chucky Hepburn. Like, I was watching, I was like, Jesus, we had it so good. He had 7 assists in the first, 17 minutes of that game. And the defense, that was the most stark thing to me. I was shocked that I was hoping that it wasn't going to be the case. And it was just this thought that we're not as aggressive defensively as we were a year ago was nostalgia and time removing the thorn from the rose and all that good stuff. But I was blown away at the difference in the overall intensity on the defensive. Everyone looked like they were on the same page. They were working together as a unit. There was just more everything in that game than what we've seen from this team the last few weeks. And that's troubling. This team's supposed to be better. It's clearly more talented. There's just something missing. And we got to get it going. We got to find it. And I think that a win tonight, even with you being shorthanded, and maybe Virginia's a fraudulent 16th ranked team. I don't think they are, but maybe they are. Even if that's the case, or even if you think that's the case, I think a win tonight would create a lot of positive juice for everybody associated with the program, and I'm really hoping it happens. Texter says, Chris Plummer, I share your bad feeling, Mike. I think we lose tonight. I hope we're wrong. Yeah, same. Texter says, 3-part text. Mike, what are your thoughts on betting against your own team? I've never been so sure that we're going to lose tonight, and 3.5 is a crazy line given what's going on with the program. Sorry for the negativity. I just know Kelsey is not going to do anything differently in this game, and I'd like to make some money on that knowledge. Matt, where do you stand on betting on your team to win or to lose?
I am an avid bet on the other team to win when it's a certain matchup.
You're a happiness hedger.
I am. Every single time we play Kentucky, my friends and I have a pool together, like a group chat where we all bet Kentucky money line, Kentucky spread, because we historically are not great sports bettors. And this year, cashed out big time. Last year, cashed out big time. We're 100%. I mean, you can't miss.
I don't like having any money. Now, the only time that I've made an exception when it comes to betting on my own teams, well, I'm not proud of this, but I know I've talked about it on the radio before. There were times in the Kenny Payne era where I was like, well, it's just stupid not to. Like this, because like the algorithms wouldn't adjust to how bad we were. And, we would be up by, or we'd only be like down by 2 points 6 minutes into the first half against somebody good, like Duke or Virginia. And we'd like only be like a 5-point underdog at that point. And I was like, well, this is just free money. Like, I can't not do this. And also, we're already 2-17, so I don't feel bad about going against my own team. So that was the only time in my life where I've ever bet for or against my team. I typically, I don't like the happiness hedge just because I don't want there to be, if we have a big win, I don't want there to be any part of me that's disappointed at all. Even if it's like I lost $10, I don't want that. And if we lose, I still I feel like I don't want there to be any part of me that's like secretly like, well, there's a positive if we actually lose. I want to be all in. I'm all or nothing. It's my type of mentality. I wish I wasn't that way, but I am.
This actually started, so I used to be just like that. I never bet on Louisville to win. I don't ever bet player props. I don't ever bet spreads. I never bet on my team to win or do anything positive. The only reason this started was back in the Scott Satterfield era. I was so tired of watching us lose to Kentucky every single year that my friends and I mean, we'd go to all the games hoping, something would be different. We started, hey, why don't we just start betting against ourselves? Because, pretty sure that because there was a few of those games in the Scott Satterfield era we were favored. There was a few that we had decent spreads for, and I was like, dude, we're not going to win this game. Like, I felt like I had insider information.
I've watched this team. I know what's going to happen.
Which year was it they came into Louisville and they blasted us by like 30?
Who did?
Kentucky in football?
That was like 4 years in a row.
But
there was 1 year where we were favored and they beat us like 52-13 or something. Yeah.
We put heavy money on that game. We went to the bars after. Our whole night was free. And then we started doing it. We were like, hey, look, so that's where it started. And then in basketball, it was more of a, I'll throw $10 on it. If we win, I paid for this win. You guys can thank me.
I don't blame you. It's not me, but I don't fault anybody for having that mentality. I kind of wish I was more like that. Now, Patrick Ryan sent me this just now. I had not seen this earlier today. So UConn, for whatever reason, has had a nightmare history in the Prudential Center where Seton Hall plays. They've lost games there, I think, in the tournament. They've lost games there to Seton Hall. They've just really struggled for some bizarre reason against Seton Hall. They play Seton Hall there tonight. It's a Seton Hall team that's overachieved, but still a game that UConn's favored to win. There's a UConn fan who has hired an Etsy witch to remove a curse at the Prudential Center. And the fan sends in the actual communication with the witch, which says the following. Hello, Greg. I have received your request, and I want to tell you, your suspicion was absolutely correct. I have now fully completed and sealed the powerful hex removal and protection shield for the UConn men's basketball team, specifically for their game against Seton Hall on January 13th, 2026. The ritual energy was the piercing of the gray fog. During the ritual, I immediately detected a very heavy, jagged, and sticky energy surrounding the team's aura when focused on the Prudential Center. It felt like a static hex, a low vibrational loop designed to trigger confusion and comical errors at crucial moments. It was not just bad luck, Matt. It was a targeted energetic interference that has been feeding on the team's past frustrations. As I channeled the removal frequency, I felt a sharp white light pierce through this gray fog, shattering the hex and replacing the chaotic vibration with a solid ironclad shield of protection. The psychic reading was breaking the loop. In my psychic vision, I see that this hex has historically relied on the team's subconscious expectation of something going wrong. I see the Prudential Center floor finally clearing of that heavy shadow. It goes on for a while. To align with this new energy, I recommend a simple golden sphere meditation for the team or for you to hold on. Imagine the entire taste in a shimmering golden sphere that deflects all external noise and negativity. They must step onto that court with the absolute belief that the old cycle is dead. Victory is no longer an uphill battle.
This is a Ted Lasso move. State. This is a Ted Lasso move 100%.
I kind of feel like I want to do this for our team tonight.
I think the 49ers need to do this.
Here's the problem, though. So Sylvia is the name of the Etsy witch. She says, like, the cycle's broken, I've done this. But in all the follow-ups, it's like, I also strongly recommend that you do this. Like, you secure the triple cash shield version of this ritual immediately, kind of putting the onus on the person that paid you. Like, no, this is what I'm giving you the money for. Either you broke the hex or you didn't. You can't say, if we lose tonight, well, I did my part. You guys needed to do this meditation. You guys needed to do the triple cash shield. I don't like that part of it. If I'm paying you money, I want you guaranteeing me a win. She also sent a picture in of her lighting some fire over what looks like, it looks like a bruschetta, like a tomato spread. I mean, if UConn wins by like 50 tonight, I sort of feel like we need to start looking at some ulterior ways of getting Michael Brown back on the court.
Let's get 4 Etsy witches in there.
I like that idea. I like where your head is right now.
How much NIL can we divert to the Etsy witches? We just have one on staff.
Yeah, I mean, I'm willing to donate $50 or something along those lines. I can make that happen. I mean, if we have the ability to bring in some sort of witchcraft, I feel like we don't do it for a specific game. I feel like we do it for Michael's back, right?
Yes.
Okay. I'm going to look into it. I've got eyes on UConn Seton Hall tonight, in addition to Louisville, Virginia. If they go out there and they play the best game of the season, I'm hitting up this witch.
It's like you know how when you go buy a snack or a drink at the Yum Center, or even at football games, they give you the option to round up for 502 Circle. What if we just took all that money for 1 week and just gave it to the Etsy witches?
Round up for Sylvia the Witch.
Exactly.
I'm not opposed to it. You know, Trevor Kelsey once performed a voodoo ritual on a Terrell Owens jersey, and T.O. subsequently kind of lost his mind. Maybe we get Trevor into this as well. Trevor and Sylvia. Their powers combined. Michael's back next week. We're good to go.
Do we know if Trevor is an Etsy witch or not?
I don't know what Trevor is at this point. I just, nothing would surprise me at all. Texture says we need Kenny Klein to come back and clean up this lack of communication. I need Kenny to come back and loosen the damn rims. I know we're shooting it well at home. We need to shoot it better. Kenny's just so selfish. I mean, just cool. You worked 60 straight years dedicating your life to tirelessly covering Louisville basketball. Could you not have given us like 10 more?
Wasn't he at like the World Series or something?
Oh, he's just living it up out there, Matt. He's just going on. I mean, I'm texting him at the World Series because I see him on TV. That clip is incredible. And I'm like, how about you get off your lazy ass and come back? We got a season that's about to start. We need you back here. We need you helping out. In all seriousness, Kenny Payne telling Kenny Klein, like, thanks, but no thanks. That was the first moment where I was like, all right, I already had my doubts. Now I'm kind of done already. This isn't going to work out. There's no way this works. You don't tell Kenny Klein, thanks, but no thanks. You let Kenny run the program if he wants to. He's so selfish, though. Texture says, am I crazy for thinking I'd rather have a transfer guy over a top 50 incoming freshman moving forward? No! I said this all last year. I think the one thing to know, not to know, but to keep in mind, is not all recruiting classes are going to be equal. The last two recruiting classes had sucked before this current crop of freshmen. And if you had, I would have taken a solid but not spectacular transfer portal player over like a top 40 freshman last year without hesitation. Because last year's freshman class did nothing. Now, this year's freshman class is impacting college basketball all across the country. Pretty much every team that feels like a legitimate national title contender has a true freshman playing some role of importance. So, again, not all classes are cut out equally. But if it's between like the 42nd ranked freshman in next year's class and a portal player that already has put up solid numbers at Santa Clara for a couple of years, give me the portal player. And I know it's easy to say, well, you can develop that 42nd ranked player over the course of a few years. Yeah, if you had a guarantee that he was going to stay around for 3 or 4 years, like there are no guarantees anymore. I always side with the known commodity at this point because when we're building rosters, whether it's football or basketball, my mind now is always just on the year that's immediately ahead. You can't think a year in advance anymore. I know the coaches will try to, but as a fan, like I'm not letting myself go to that headspace. You know, people were talking about Lincoln Keenholz when we landed him, like, I'm glad he's got a couple of years left. I'm not even taking that into consideration. Yeah, if he comes here and has a fantastic season, would I love for him to come back in 2027? Sure. But I'm not getting my hopes up for anybody being a multi-year player. That's the way you get your heart broken. You can't get attached to players anymore. Everybody's on a 1-year contract. Texture says, now that college players are basically pros, should we expect injury news and information to be handled like the NBA? The situation with Michael just seems so vague. Maybe I'm wrong, but in the NBA, you'd typically be provided more specific info about what the injury is, not just saying a back injury, and a general timeline for a return, like 4 to 6 weeks, for example. I mean, that's how it's always been in college, too, up until, like, this year, basically, you know? Anytime we ever had an injury, whether the timeline was accurate or not, we at least got a timeline, and we were told what it was. And this year, I mean, the Darren Peterson and Michael Brown injuries have kind of ushered in what a lot of people are calling a new era where the coaches don't want to give timelines because it's kind of up to the player and their camp for when they're going to return. And it's like, this is different. It's very different than it's always been. It used to be your doctors clear you. The players want to play. They don't care if they're hurt. They want to get back on the court as soon as possible. And if the coach is telling them, hey, you're ready, let's go, they're going. Like they're playing. And now it seems like that has shifted a little bit. I'd like to know, but it does seem like this is probably a sign of things to come. Texter says, 2 straight years of noticeable and problematic injury issues. Do you think there could be anything with the strength and conditioning or perhaps the way they practice? I mean, wherever you go, there you are, right? Like this was always the thing with Rick Pitino when he was here. We always had guys hurt, and it was always, are they practicing too hard? Is all that does he need to run him on the treadmill as much as he does? You had C.L. Brown asking the question. C.L. Brown wrote a story where he had, I think, some former players, including Larry O'Bannon, quoted as saying, like the conditioning, it takes a toll on you. Like at the end of the season, it was harder to dunk, and guys got hurt because and Pitino hated it. Like he was furious about it. And now we're right back here having the same conversations. I think more times than not, it's just, look at our injuries from last season. Kason Pryor was the most notable, tearing his ACL. Happened in the middle of a game. That's not a practice issue. It's nothing like that. Like that's just a freaky thing. Jeremiah Fears pushed Chucky Epper into the ground. He tried to get the charge call and instead fell right into Kason, tore his ACL. The other ones, I think Noah Waterman got hurt in games multiple times. I can't tell you about Traore or Chucky or Rain or Corin Johnson. Like maybe those were the product of practice. Who knows? But at some point, I think you just have to say most injuries are fluky things that are going to happen when we want the team to practice hard. If we were out there, if we were fully healthy and this team was playing like garbage, we would all be saying, like, what are they doing in practice? Why aren't they practicing harder? And can't have it both ways, I guess. Texas Rutherford is definitely the I don't trust the new guy person in a gang. Yeah, I think that's fair. I think you need a level head in every group. Matt, are you that guy or people with open arms right off the bat?
I'm like that. I don't welcome with open arms too often. Like, I'm fine with it, and like I get excited to see something new. That I'll always take somebody who's been here or at least has the experience.
I'm not going to, like, if you're new to the friend group or you're new to any sort of group that I'm in, I'm not going to, like, be mean to you. I'm going to welcome you and I'm going to be nice to you, but I'm not going to sit here and act like I don't have a little side eye. I'm going to be a little bit suspicious. I think I'm a pretty good judge of character.
I just like when you get new people into the friend group and they immediately almost like they're not trying to take over the friend group, but they're trying to be the main piece.
They don't know their place.
No, they don't know their place. Like there's a hierarchy here.
And like you can't call me that name day one. Like you got to earn that right. Like we're making fun of Tim. You're not allowed to make fun of Tim in the way that we're making fun of Tim. We've been doing this since 2007. You got to earn that right. I agree with that. I think that's fine. Texter says, you guys, I've said this before and y'all said I was lying. There's a version of We Fly High by Jim Jones that you guys only seem to play occasionally that is not Jim Jones. You have to really be paying attention and really know his voice, but I don't know why you guys keep trolling me with it because I am absolutely sure that's another person. And hearing the rest of it after the break, I'm even more certain. Even the girl part is not the same girl that's in the actual song. What the heck are you guys playing?
I know exactly what he's talking about. So the version of that song is a clean version. Or I think it's the radio edit version. I've seen it because when I go through the songs for when I fill in for these days, if they're all listed out, right? You're prepared to go. There aren't really any true clean versions of that song on YouTube. Mm-hmm. So if Roman's playing the ones that sound correct,
we got the Kids Bop version.
He's having to basically be like, I got to turn this down, or get ready for the cuss words to come in. And that one's just the safe one. It bothers me as well, I'll be honest with you, when I have to play it because I know it sounds completely different.
We need to start just playing the Orange Bowling song from 06. It's on YouTube. Props to whoever sent it to me. Cards fly high, Nola, we orange bowling. We need to start playing that one. That's a jam. I think that could take the place and it could solve. I know this is a specific texter issue. I don't think everybody else is having the same thing where they're like, oh my God, it's driving me crazy that's not Jim Jones. But this would solve things. It would also make it more. We got to change the music up somehow, especially if I know I put Roman on the spot today, and he was kind of having to do it on the fly, and so he didn't really have time to change it up. If we get beat tonight, I need all new songs, not all new songs, but some new songs on Friday. We need new mojo because if we're going to criticize Pat Kelsey for doing the same thing and not changing it up enough, we got to look in the mirror. We're not changing it up either. We're doing the same pregame show, the same music, giving the same kind of takes. We got to flip something. Maybe we just don't talk about basketball at all on Friday and see what the team does against Pittsburgh if we lose this one tonight.
That's a good idea.
Just get rid of the text. Maybe we take calls on Friday. Get rid of the text line. Just take call. I'd last like 2 minutes before I'm like, no, we're not doing this. We can't make this happen. We have a lot of text to get to. We don't have a ton of time to do it, but we'll get to as many as we can after the break. We'll wrap things up a little bit, give some final thoughts on Louisville versus Virginia, make some predictions, and then call it a day. Keep it locked right here. The Rutherford Show's wrapping up next here on 1450 and 96.1 Big X Sports Radio. Let's go. Woo! Siren, baby. There we go. Let's pick it up. Big one. I said the Joker is a wanted man. 5 o'clock hour. Game day. Louisville, Virginia. 2 hours away from tip-off inside the KFC Yum Center. We're back here on 1450 and 96.1. And now joining the pregame coverage over on our sister station, 970 WGTK. We'll be here for 30 minutes. And then we'll hand things off to the professionals, William McDermott and company. We'll have your pregame show starting at 5:30. Tip-off at 7 o'clock. Matt, are you doing Ticket Punchers? Or
I am. I'm filling in for Rowan on Ticket Punchers.
Matt Childress will fill in on Ticket Punchers over here on 1450 and 96.1 from 5:30 to 6. And then we have tip-off on ESPN2 between the Cards and the Cavaliers. Got some bad news for those folks who weren't already aware. It's a Virginia game, which already, whatever.
Take it how you see it.
We got Corey Alexander on the call.
I saw that earlier, and I wanted to throw up.
He's already terrible, but of course he did play at Virginia, and so there is some, I think, subconscious or just straight-up conscious, siding with the Cavaliers. It's going to be a rough night to listen to the game. Hopefully, the team's play will make the announcing not bad. Dave O'Brien does a good job. I like him as a play-by-play guy. Corey Alexander ruins anything that he does that's positive. But that will be your eyes and ears for this evening on ESPN2. Let me ask you a question right from the jump, Matt, as we give some final thoughts in this game. We've talked about Virginia as a team. We've talked about how we match up. What we haven't talked about is no opponent, even Kentucky, in my lifetime has dominated Louisville basketball the way that Virginia has. We joined the ACC in 2014-15. We played them twice every single season besides the COVID-shortened year of 2020-2021, and they owned us before last year. Before last year, they led the all-time series 24-5, which is insane when you think about some of the teams that we had during that stretch of time under Rick Pitino and some of the teams that they beat before we even joined the ACC. I think because of the dominance, you couldn't really call it a rivalry, but there was an element of just pure disdain from our fan base in the direction of Charlottesville. Every time we played them, we really wanted to find a way to win. We also were terrified that it wasn't just going to be a loss, but it was going to be a loss in the most excruciating way possible. And now Bennett's gone. They've gone through a couple of hard years. We've beaten them. We swept them last season. We'd beaten Tony Bennett a couple of times before he officially retired. They've got a new coach. They've got an entirely new system. This is a top 20 matchup. They're they're the 16th ranked team in the country according to the AP poll. They're a competitor with us, I think, for ACC supremacy this season. And yet it doesn't feel like any sort of rivalry element is in the fan base. Do we still hate Virginia? I think is the big question as we get ready for this game, or has that sort of faded along with Tony Bennett's retirement?
Oh, we still hate Virginia.
Okay.
I can't. Virginia is my basketball version of Clemson, or like it's not Kentucky, but it's as close as you could possibly get. We're walking that line. One of my favorite basketball memories ever, aside from the national chat, the Mango Mathiang game winner.
I was there too.
I was there. I was sitting in 323. We had season tickets there all year, and I sat next to the same guy all year. He also had season tickets. Very large man, and he's old. He was probably 20 years older than me. And I remember we got to know each other throughout the season. It was like the old school season ticket holder thing, right? You became friends with people you sat next to.
Love it.
And I'm only like 15. My brother and I are there. We're watching it, and all the entire row sees Mango Mathiang pull up, and you just see everybody just like surrender Scorpion over their head.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
He hits it, and the man grabs me, picks me up over like on his back, and runs me down the stairs to like the closest pavilion possible.
Shut up.
I'm being dead serious. I'm being dead serious.
That is awesome.
It was one of my favorite memories ever. And then after the game, Mango Mathiang talking about, he's like, all money. That was going through my head.
Yeah. God, that was I I had a little bit of I honestly don't know if my experience was as cool as yours. I was sitting next to Tom Jurich and my wife when it happened. we were in his box for the game. I don't even remember how we'd gotten the invite to be up there, but it was like this overwhelming fear once Virginia had taken the lead, and kind of knowing Tom back then, the fun thing about being around him during games was he was just like every fan. Like he would get you would think he'd be like stoic and like, I can't believe people freak out about this. He'd be like, you tell me why you think this guy's a pro. He was like flipping out about like the games, like, come on, Rick, you got to do this, you got to do that. And when Mango hits the shot, the entire place, like you said, it goes from a collective like, no, to like just full on pandemonium. That was one of the greatest games of all time to be at. It was wonderful.
Like I said, I still hate Virginia so much. I think you kind of alluded to it earlier that a big reason why I dislike Virginia is really not because of them just beating us over and over again. It was the style of basketball Tony Bennett played.
Yeah.
It was just like, oh my God, we're losing to this team and they can't score.
Yeah.
That's just how good their defense is.
Every time you get like a little bit of momentum, like you'd have like the dumbest thing happen that would wreck all that momentum, and then they would have something crazy. And the other thing that sucked was you wanted so bad. Like I wish they'd been evil during those days. Like you wanted Tony Bennett to like after that DeAndre Hunter shot goes in to like flip off David Padgett, like DX crotch chop the crowd, and instead he's like, man, I just feel so bad for those guys. Like they really needed that win for the NCAA tournament, and they've gone through so much, and David's done such a great job over there. Like definitely thinking about them right now. Not gonna, and you're like, damn it, man. Like give us some reason to hate you. You're handsome. You're nice. Your teams are great. But by God, is it frustrating to watch you kill us with 1,000 paper cuts? It was so exhausting. And now we have a new era of the rivalry. We also, a little bit of breaking news, we have our official final injury reports for tonight's game. Ryan Conwell is available. He is a go. Unfortunately, Kenai Roots will not play tonight. Michael Brown is also out. And then not to be outdone, I don't want to just gloss over this. Spencer Legg is also out tonight, Matt. So no Legg, no Brown, no Roots tonight.
Come on, Spencer. What are we doing, man? How bad's the ankle? We need you, bro.
I want to do the thing tonight where if we lose, we're like, we had 3 guys out. So, people would, like, I loved like last year, everybody would just hate on Kadir Traore. And then if he wasn't available and we would play poorly, it's like, we didn't have Traore, we didn't have Waterman. I'm like, you hate these guys. Like, you think they're terrible. But I do love like when you just add on to the issues for trying to make excuses. No Michael, no Kenai, no Spencer Legg tonight, all of equal importance. Virginia, they don't have anybody out tonight, which is at least mildly notable because they have had a player who's been sidelined since December 20th, Jakari White, who's a transfer from North Dakota State, has not played in a game since December 20th. He had a broken wrist that he suffered in that win over Maryland. He will play, according to their injury report. He's their third leading scorer despite playing just 18 and a half minutes per game. He averages just shy of 11 points per game, and he is their best shooter. So he's not in playing shape, but if you see him on the perimeter, you've got to know where he is at all times. He's taken 63 pointers this season. He's made 30 of them. So I'm not great at math, but I believe that's 50%. You have a 50% three-point shooter out there. That could make a difference for them tonight. So all the breaks kind of go in Virginia's way here as we lead into this one. It would be a remarkably impressive win if the Cards are able to find a way to pull this one out tonight. It would be the type of win that I think would change the entire mood of the fan base. And it couldn't come at a better time because right now I think, like I said early on, we need something good to happen. And a win over a 16th ranked team, despite being shorthanded in front of your home crowd, would be something without question that would fit that bill. So let's try to find a way to get it done. I don't care how it looks. I don't care who steps up. Find a way.
I was talking to Rowan about this yesterday, and after it came out of my mouth, I was really confused what I was saying, but I actually really like how we match up against this team defensively because all of our, at least like 3 of the 4 losses where we had major issues all came down to, we just kind of got beat by one guy. We let one guy kind of go crazy on us.
That's fair.
And, we're not good at playing on ball. We're not good at keep staying in front of our defender. But when we play against teams that share the wealth a lot, like Virginia does, or like we seem to kind of alleviate that pain, and we're able to play better help defense. And when we don't have to key on, well, this guy we have to stop on ball. We have to stop him off the dribble. We have to force the ball out of his hands. When we play against teams that do share the ball a lot, we seem to succeed a lot better. And this team does have a lot of point disparity. You don't have that guy that's dropping 25 a game.
Yeah,
you got to focus on. So I like how we match up against this team.
I think there are things to like about the matchup. The lack of athleticism in this group, that tends to bode well for us. The one except Malik Thomas is a very solid athlete, the kid from San Francisco, who's not shooting it as well as he did at USF, but he's still scoring. He's their second leading scorer at 12.7 points per game. That's who I would assume you're going to see Conwell matched up on, although they may put Woolley on him since Ryan's going to have to run the point again tonight. They play 2 point guards that are both good in their own rights. Chance Mallory is athletic, but he's 5'10", so there's a size disadvantage there. Dalen Hall is not athletic. He's more of a distributor, pass-first guy, not very much kind of like a system player, just solid, not spectacular in anything that he does. The size is a disadvantage for sure for us inside. But I think your overall point is right. If we're giving the type of effort that we should, I'm hoping that this is the moment where it's like, all right, we got to do something different defensively. We've got to lock in. Every dribble contested. Everybody knows the scouting report. Everybody knows where they're supposed to be. If we do those things well, I think we can keep them from having one of their most efficient offensive nights. They're a good offensive team regardless, but I think we should be able to have some success there. I am concerned with the offensive rebounding, that it's going to be that can break your spirit. When you defend really well for like 25, 26 seconds, and then you force a bad shot, it goes right to one of their 7-footers who puts it back in. Like that can kind of get in your head a little bit, and they're a very good offensive rebounding team. But I do think there are areas where if we were fully healthy, I wouldn't hate the matchup at all because they get overly aggressive on defense, and I feel like Michael would be able to exploit that. I feel like he would also be able to handle the full court pressure that they're going to throw at us very well. One thing that I would keep an eye on in this game, Ali Khalifa, he puts you at a disadvantage more than you already were when it comes to defensive rebounding. But his ability to pull one of those 7-foot shot blockers away from the rim, I think could be big in this game. Also, like they're well coached. They'll be aware that we love to back cut and that Ali loves to be a passer, but they still are super aggressive. They are susceptible to getting beat backdoor. It's happened by Virginia Tech did it a lot in their win in Blacksburg a few weeks ago. I do think that's something where we could get like 6 cheap points off of if passing lanes and being overly aggressive. We'll see. Let's take some texts here before we give some final thoughts here in about 10 minutes. Texter says, the current hotel restaurant coordinator for Louisville football is like, what the hell, man? Yeah, imagine having that job, being the guy who does book Louisville's hotels and restaurants. And he's like, is that so bad, Vince? What are you trying to say here, man? Come on. Texter says, Roman, you said U of L would beat Miami in October. They did. You were right and I was wrong. Now the Canes are in the Natty. Go Canes. I didn't realize we had a Canes fan who texted into the show.
I remember when we did Mondays with Dalton Pence before the game that week. We were playing Miami. Dalton came into the show sounding so down. Like, guys, I don't see a chance this happening. I don't see this and that. And Roman and I were just like sunshine pumping this dude to the moon the whole show. And we're like, this is crazy. I can't believe you're going to talk about this. We're playing the number 2 team in the country. Get hype. And then I remember that I know how bad he felt texting Roman and I right after the game, being like, wow, you guys are actually right.
So the texter is apparently Miami John Boy. So it's a bad name. You like John Boy Kane or something like that. Come on. Miami John Boy is very excited about the Canes playing for the national title, but also very apologetic to Roman for not believing him. Texter says Dana Brown hearing that she's the reason Pat Kelsey sucks with the media, and it's the little Sasquatch meme where he's pointing at him. Oh yeah, we've officially blamed everybody now for the problems here. It's us being too nice. It's Pat Kelsey being too nice. It's Dana Brown not being good enough with the media. This is what happens when you start losing a couple games here in Louisville in this basketball season. We're just a couple weeks away from the rumor of one player sleeping with the other player's girlfriend and getting her pregnant. Every year, it's a time-tested tradition in January. It's going to happen.
Do you think that the team has like a bingo card of like explanations out there that fans give out? They're like, oh, the girlfriend hasn't popped up yet.
God, I would.
Waiting for that bingo.
I would. Yeah, here we go. Like, who's going to make the first accusation that players were throwing games for gambling reasons? Here we go. There it is. It's Cards Fan 24/7 on Twitter. He just posted it.
They see one tweet that says against the checks bounce, and then Kanai's like, got it, bingo,
checks bounce, check it off. There we go. Texas Mike, I'm a little biased because I know Pete Nocta personally. I'll put that out front. I just don't like Vince going after him. Pete left, so I'm not cheering for his success over us. I love what the big dog brings to the table. I think we all know that Vince didn't like him, and Pete felt the same. The fact that Pete would willingly go to Lexington with Stein shows how much friction there was between those guys. I just don't like the look. The trash talk is fun, but it seems like Vince is taking it over the top. Big Dog can bring recruits and talk that incoherent trash. I'm here for it, but it still makes me feel bad that Pete wanted to leave and his decades-plus work is being crapped on as he left the building. I know he went to a rival, and I understand that we can't cheer for him, but I'm not comfortable with it. Do you know what I mean? Sure. I mean, I think that there's it feels – I think it's easier for Kentucky fans to rivalry with Vince Marrow because he's always thrown it around. And so it's easy for them to be like, all you did was get us 3 stars. And he's coming to be like, I got you Benny Snell, and I got you this guy, and I got that guy. Pete, all he's done is kind of do a passive-aggressive retweet. So obviously we're not rooting for him. But, yeah, it's a little bit more difficult to be visceral with the guy that's, he played for us. He's been here for a long time. I think worked hard for a long time through multiple coaching staffs to do the best he could. So, yeah. Texas says, thanks for accepting my LinkedIn request, Roman. It's a great text. I love it. Texas, I need to hear non-code switched Roman on the CC podcast. I would like I'm excited to hear potentially unfiltered Roman. Texas says, Trevor still being on advertisements will never not be funny. I hope we never change it. Texas, maybe a wank room will help Vince Marrow display better social media etiquette. I forgot we were simulcasting. I apologize for that, making it over there. Texas says, how about a fun emergency podcast if we win tonight? Maybe. I don't think I can get Danny. He's locked into this new job world. Maybe I can get Matt or Roman to sign up for it. Maybe we can get him in a text groove and make something happen. Texas says the Kings have to at least make Miller Moss say no. Okay. Which would the fan base be more opposed to? Jack Plummer, Louisville King, or Miller Moss, Louisville King?
Miller Moss, just because recency bias.
I think so, too.
I think if it was public knowledge that they were genuinely choosing between those, I think you would see a rallying cry behind Jack Plummer. They're like, hey, he won to ACC championship.
I think so, too. I think you're exactly right. Lions fan John said, Matt, with all due respect, and I mean with all due respect, that may be the dumbest trade proposal I've ever heard.
Like I said, me and my friend were just talking back and forth. I was like, hey, what if? Would you take it? And I just wanted. I didn't say I ever thought something like that would happen. I just want to know what Mike would say about it.
Speaking of trade proposals, Texas says, would you trade McNeely and Michael if he were healthy for Chucky and Rain? Everyone else on this year's team stays the same. I think it's a year for me. Rain is a much better shooter than Isaac, and Chucky elevates our defense massively without being a huge downgrade on the offensive end. Would you take this trade?
I would. I think I would take Chucky, but I wouldn't take Rain. Isaac McNeely is I think he's a lot more athletic. He's better with the ball in his hand. And he's more of a downhill threat than Rain ever was. And I know he hasn't played well of recent, but when he's not having to guard the primary ball handler and he's getting switched on, he's not too bad, playing off ball.
I would take the trade.
You would take it?
I would take the trade. I think that you lose something defensively with Rain for McNeely, although Isaac hasn't been great defensively, but we're also asking him to do more than we asked Rain to do last year. Am I wrong? I felt like every big momentum 3 that Rain took last year went in. And I feel like, Isaac's shooting numbers have been, we mentioned he's 10 of 48 without Michael against power conference opponents. But even when he's shooting well, it feels like the big momentum shot, he just doesn't make it. Like every time there's the roof's going to blow off this place if he hits this one, he misses. Or every time it's like, they need this one to go in to have a shot to make this come, he misses. And I felt like with Rain, he always made it. With Chucky, I mean, I'd kill for a Chucky on this year's team. Would kill.
I've thought about this before because I was in the same sense. I was like, gosh, I feel like Rain had hit more shots or hit bigger shots. we also just didn't have the level, like the amount of shooters on this team that we had this year that we did last year. So like,
True.
I feel like it was just like for me personally, it was like a volume thing.
If there was a big shot made, it was like an 80% chance that it was rain.
You knew who was going to.
Yeah.
Whereas like now we could go to Michael, we could go to Ryan, we could go to Isaac. So I feel like Isaac just hasn't any opportunities because early in the season, Rain just did not hit anything. I mean, that man was. You've pointed out multiple times, we were throwing things into the ocean. It was either way too short, way too long, way to the right. It wasn't even. I feel like with this team, at least the misses are close. Like you can tell that like they're more talented shooters overall.
I agree with that. For sure. I don't think there's a wrong answer to that question. I think it's easy to say I'd trade Chucky. I would take Chucky and Rain right now for those two guys. We also don't have a glimpse of what Michael would be if he hadn't gotten hurt for the last month, you know? Like maybe he'd be the best point guard in the country, and I'd look like a complete idiot for saying that. But God, the defense would be great. Texas says bad news for that Etsy witch because I actually just cursed UConn. This texter is from Connecticut, so I don't know what your resume is for which purposes, but we'll see which witch is the best. Texas, will we ever know why Trevor doesn't? You can Google. It's not that hard to find. Texas, if we had a witch on staff, we could use him or her for both injuries and single games. Director of Energies. I like this idea.
Mm-hmm.
The problem is we're not really in the business of hiring new people right now because of NIL and revenue sharing and all that stuff. But if it came down to it, I mean, maybe we could save some time. Maybe we could save some time save some money with the training staff.
What would happen is the first recruit or first transfer portal member is like, hey man, we can't give you that number. We got to pay the Etsy witch and get her crystals for.
Yeah.
We need you to come down about $100K.
Who was that long-haired guy just like hanging out shoeless in the locker room? It's like, that's Dave. Don't worry about what Dave does. He's director of energy. It's going to be great. Texas, fair or not, I shudder to think about how much our fan base will go in on Michael and his dad if he decides to shut it down for the year. Yeah. I mean, they're already going in on him. We're rocking the new Spidey uniforms tonight. And every time that poor Michael has to post something, I'm sure he's contractually obligated to post. Like, he's got to know what the comments are going to be. Nobody's talking about the uniforms. They're all just like, why don't you bleep and play, man? Like, it's going to be that way until he plays. Okay. As of like 2 weeks ago, I would have told you it's 98% that he plays this season. Just because he's saying he's going to play, Kelsey's saying he's going to play. As time has gone on, and we keep getting to these different mile markers where they're saying he should be back by then, he should be there, and he's not. And now it's kind of gone all quiet on that front. What percentage chance do you give us seeing Michael Brown on the court playing basketball for Louisville at any point this season?
7.
I think I'm still at like 83. But the doubt has crept in now.
Yes.
I no longer think that it's just as cut and dry and as straightforward as it was made out to be a few weeks ago. And the increasing silence from like Michael and his camp and Pat Kelsey kind of talking in uncertain terms every time it comes up now has very much made the doubt go up. Texas, as word as you've sounded today, Mike, would it totally shock you if you won tonight? No, it wouldn't totally shock me. We're 3-point favorites. If Michael Brown miraculously returns, does he guarantee a Final Four for us? No. Even though he had not been shooting the ball well from the outside, in addition to us not being the same defensively compared to last year, there's no guarantee for a Final Four ever. We could have, a lot of people come onto this team and it wouldn't guarantee a Final Four run. I would not be shocked if we lost at all, but if I'm just wearing my opinions on my sleeve, I would be surprised if we won this game tonight. That's where I am. Texter says, easy now, Ron. This is my friend group now. I'm in charge. Don't call me Ron. I don't know you. Texter says, anybody else going to Roosters tonight to eat delicious wings and watch the big game? Maybe. Matt, final, real quickly. Cards, Cavs tonight, about an hour and a half away from tip-off. Who wins?
I think we end up winning. I think it's going to be kind of an ugly outing. I'm going to say 79-77.
I think we're going to lose. That's all I'm going to say. I hope I'm wrong. I hope we're celebrating tomorrow. If you're on 970 WGTK, keep it locked right here for the official pregame show. If you're on 1450 or 96.1, keep it locked right here for the ticket punchers. We're back tomorrow at 2:30. Let's get this done tonight. Let's change the mojo. Let's get on track. Go Cards, baby. Beat Virginia. Go Cards.
The Mike Rutherford Show was brought to you by United.